So, wherever you are watching this, welcome. I am Jake. With me is Seprix, and you will probably recognize one of us. We are going to go through our reactions from Renaissance. We've both been very familiar with the set since before it came out. So we recorded some hot takes that were just too hot for the public eye before. So what we're going to do is read through those and then talk about maybe how we've changed a little bit. So this is sort of like a little time capsule of how wrong we were.
I don't think I'm that wrong, but let's see.
We'll see. I
I
know.
don't remember my hot takes, so
Well, I know that mine have changed a good deal.
I
So
also I also know that I drastically disagreed with like half of what you said. So
sure, that'll be good discussion too.
yeah.
All right. So you got the doc up.
Uh-huh.
And the first one was Border Guard, which is +1 action, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, put one into your hand, discard the other. If both of them were actions, take the Lantern and the Horn. Lantern turns it into 3 cards that you're looking at and taking one. Horn lets you top deck the Border Guard, scheme it. So I gave it a 6. And
Uh,
what did you
I
think
gave
about
it
it?
a 7. I think now I'd give it an 8, honestly. And it looks like
Really?
I'm correct. I think I was correct with my initial assessment that you just always take Horn first
Oh, yeah?
because then it allows you to oh yeah, let's hit 3 cards. Let's hit all of them. They're just all going to be action. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Horn is usually the first one you take. Plus the top deck is really nice. Yeah, I think I'd give this an 8. It's one of the best 2s in the game, I think. And I don't think that's too crazy to say. It's kind of like the raise trash, except you get to do it every time. So, like
Well,
the
you,
self trash.
Well, right, and it's not a permanent improvement to your deck the way that like trashing with Rays is. So, I mean, I agree that it's one of the better 2s out there. It's ahead of the curve as far as 2 cost cards go. What I failed to get across when I was really enthusiastic about it, I think, was that like a lot of the 2s are really underwhelming. So this stands out, but that's just kind of a low bar for me.
Well, there are a lot of turns where you just don't want a silver and you're just going to buy a border guard. And border
Yeah,
guard is so much better than silver. It cycles. So,
sure.
like you're almost always going to pick up one of these cards during the course of the game. It's just going to happen.
If I have
And like yeah.
if I have a card that I'm just spending a spare buy on, this isn't doing a lot, but it's doing the best almost nothing that
Oh,
I
it's
can
it's
think of.
way better than nothing.
It's
It's
way
way
better
better
than
than
nothing.
nothing.
It's not a huge difference in having it in my deck, but like I'm very
Yeah, it
happy to
is.
spend a spare buy on this for sure.
It it does quite a bit. It could
Yeah,
save your turn from sucking. You get to see 2 cards and you look at your hand. Oh, which one do I want? Oh, I skipped an estate while doing it too. It's like okay, it does a lot more than nothing. I think.
yeah. No, I mean it's a pretty good card. You'll see. I mean, Renaissance as we go through this. Renaissance is a great set in general. Um, but yeah, I don't think either of us have changed a whole lot on it. It's above average for a 2. And next we come to Duquette, which is a 2 cost treasure. When you play it, it gives you plus coffers and plus buy. And when you gain it, you get to gain trash a copper from your hand. And we both give this the same rating.
Yeah, I think I'm more inclined to give it a 2 now. I,
It's
I
gotten worse for you.
it's gotten worse for me because I all I see are people they just buy it. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it, and then it just never works.
Yeah, you
So like,
made
I think
yeah.
it's probably still a 3, but I'm gonna give it a 2. Stop buying it. It's awful.
Don't buy it.
Only buy it.
Don't buy
Don't
it for no
open it.
reason. Yeah, right.
Don't
Don't
open
open
it.
it.
I
For
see people opening it still. It's like it's been months, guys. Come on. It doesn't trash a card. It's awful. It's a copper with a buy on top. It's pouch. Don't do that.
that's a good
Ugh.
point. I mean, the thing is that I would. I mean, I give Candlestick Maker higher than a 2. And
Oh,
I give
Candlestick Maker is like a 2. So
right. I mean, so I this is at least as good as Candlestick Maker most of the time. So like there's a minimum threshold there of value for me, but I know what you're saying. Like people are buying this for inexplicable reasons. Like they think it's thinning their deck or something. I don't know.
I was playing. All right, this might have something to do with it, but I was playing somebody on New Year's. He had like a rating of like 60 or something.
Sure.
It might be. It might have to do with being New Year's because he was drinking. But like, it was like a single like. There's no. It's like a single terminal ghost ship game, and this guy was just buying like Duquette every turn, and I just kept ghost shipping him.
Oh
And then in
god.
the end, I had a deck, and he just had a bunch of ducats and nothing, and he
Yeah.
just ended up resigning. And then he played well the rest. I don't know what happened that one game, but like he was doing something really weird with ducats, and it just wasn't working.
Well, maybe I don't know. Like there's people do sometimes try to do stupid things with coffers. Like they try to hoard them up to get this. I'm gonna put Megaturn in quotation marks here. Off
No,
where
no, that's great. No,
yeah,
coffers sitting there and doing nothing are way better than spending coffers because there's that inherent threat. But it doesn't work with
sure,
ducat because ducat's just a copper. Like it's just awful.
right. I mean,
It can work later maybe, but like I like don't pick up ducat like ever until you know you need a buy. That would be when I would start thinking about ducat.
sure. Yeah, if you want to buy, and you are the fact that it can like not take up a not like decrease your deck control by replacing a
Yeah,
copper. Yeah, I
if
mean,
you have
that's
like an
nice.
if you have like an ironworks in hand and you want to hit a price point
Hmm.
and gaining a ducat will get you to that price point, it's probably better than gaining a silver. And then you get to trash a copper. Like there's like little things you can do, but for the most part, like guys, ducat's a copper. Come on.
Yeah,
It's a copper. It's a
I'm with
copper
you.
with a buy on it. It's nothing special.
Yep.
Um,
Uh, so moving on to something that I think is pretty special, Lackeys. It's another two
mm,
cost, and it gives you +2 cards, and when you gain it, +2 villagers. And at the beginning, I gave this a 5. Oh yeah, I gave this a 5, and you gave it a higher rating. You gave it a 9, right?
I gave it a 9. I think I would give it an 8 now, but
Um,
that's kind of semantics. I think if you don't buy this card, you're just going to lose. So, like, you have to get it at some point, usually.
Absolutely. I'm closer to your take on this than my
Yeah.
original one. Lackeys is super good. There are so many. You're going to buy this so often. You're going to buy it. You're going to get this sometimes with no intention of playing it. Just being able to get villagers on demand like that is so powerful. It lets you over terminal and get really greedy with your deck composition really early on in ways that would be dangerous otherwise. But because Lackeys is out, you can just play fast and loose with your terminal space.
Yeah, I think the only scary thing with lackeys is overdoing it, and everyone. I used to think people overstated this, but now recently I've found out I'm doing it now.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a real thing. You have to be a little conservative with your villagers. You have to realize lackeys is not a permanent solution. It's like experiment, which we'll talk about later. It's
Yeah.
not real draw. Well, it's not a real village in this case. And experiment's not real draw, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But Lackey is not a real village. It's a oh shoot, there's two terminals colliding coming up. Let me buy this Lackey so that doesn't suck.
Right.
It's an accelerator, but you need something to accelerate to, or else it's going to implode and you're going to be worse off in the end. So it's
Yeah.
just something to look out for.
For sure. When this card was being tested, I always talked about it as like your deck is getting slowly addicted to these lackeys. Like the lackeys are like the pusher man, like because you are getting these short-term villagers as a solution, and then you have this not so great terminal action in your deck, and a lot of the time your first instinct is like, oh, I need some villagers. I better get more lackeys, and then all of a sudden you have this deck that doesn't do anything because you
Right.
run out of villagers. Um, Speaking of running out of villagers, the next card is called Acting Troupe. It's a $3 card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just says +4 villagers. Trash this. I gave this a
Yeah.
5.
I gave it a 7, but I hate this card. I'm giving it a 3. I don't like it.
I'm with you. I'm actually taking it down to a 3 too. I think this is actually the weakest card in the set. I'd say.
There's villain and there's ducat. This is pretty close though.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is maybe the weakest village in the game. I think I would say that.
I wouldn't say that, but it's definitely not a village you want to rely on. It's a supplemental village. You'll get one or two of them.
But
Like,
Like,
like they're great if you get a couple of them, but relying on it as a village is like, I still have yet to see a game where hoarding all of these means you win the game. Like, that was my worry, right? I
yeah,
had this worry where it's like, okay, well, there's like this torturer game. Oh, geez, there's a torturer game. You want to play all the torturers, so you got to hoard all the acting troops. And I think that's the closest I've ever gotten to winning, and with just by hoarding acting troops. And even then, there was like Guardian on the board, so it's like it didn't really work. But in theory, it exists, and you should keep your eye out for it. But like,
yeah.
it's really rare. It's a lot more rare than you would think.
Well, you're talking about the acting troops depleting, right? So, like, at a
Uh
certain
huh.
point, the other guy just doesn't have access to them.
Yeah, so like you would, as a strategy, take all of the acting troops and like, well, I have
Yeah,
all the villages now. I can do everything, and then the other guy just goes like money and just wins because you're spending time doing that.
that's
Like, it's
true.
not a, it doesn't seem to be a real thing, and if it is, it's kind of like, I suppose you could compare it to Salt the Earth. You think, whoa, I'm going to rush down the provinces, and then the other guy's like, okay, and then he just wins. Um, if there is a acting troop rush, it's going to be like Salt the Earth, in which you kind of do it late. You don't do it early. You don't commit to it early. You kind of do that a little later on. I would guess,
For
if it
sure.
exists. I'm still not sure it exists, but
Well,
I'm still looking out for it.
that situation you're describing, it does come up, and it comes up with every village. Like, there are a lot of times when, like, the village split really matters, and because there's only this one source of plus action on the board, and you have to decide: do I make my deck better like I normally would, or do I try to dive and close out this split? And it gets weird because Acting Troop is like a finite village, but like you can see this dynamic play out on other boards too, and yeah, I mean, I have yet to see the acting troops actually empty. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen a board where Tracer does that.
yeah,
He did that once. He's like, yeah, I want all the actions, and then he did it, and he lost really hard. That's the
oh
only time I ever.
good.
So like, it happens. But I will say though, if you have ways to get things out of the trash,
Okay,
like
yeah,
Rogue or Necromancer, this card starts shooting way up. You like Champion? Well, it becomes Champion. So like,
for sure. Yeah,
that's the one time where I will say Acting Troop is really good. Is when you can use them infinitely. It's great then. I will admit that.
yeah. It's like
Can't
this.
for,
It's an
can't forget to mention that.
right. It's an ultra efficient village if you have any way of reusing it, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so the next card is Cargo Ship, and it is a duration. It's orange. It is a $3 action that gives you $2, so it's a terminal silver. And what it does is once this turn, when you gain a card, you get to set it aside on the cargo ship. At the start of your next turn, you get to put it into your hand. And I gave this a 7, and you gave it an 8. So we both had very similar opinions on this, of it being on the higher
And
end of.
I underrated this card. It's probably a 9 and possibly a 10.
Wow, really?
Yes. Like, it's not very often you skip cargo ship.
Yeah,
And if you get cargo ship on turn 3 and you hit 5 and you pick up like a recruiter or a junk dealer, I call that getting shipped. Be like, there's nothing you can do. You're just done. Like, you win.
yeah.
Like, you can just dust your hands off. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. Get out of my game. It's over. Like, it's like,
That's
it just ends games. It's like T-Mog. If you land T-Mog turn 3 and your opponent doesn't, and you get to kill in his state, that's like, you're just way ahead. Like, there's just nothing you can do about it.
yeah. It's certainly that situation puts you way ahead. I mean, it's like you got the fact that you could play a 5 cost action on in the first or second shuffle without opening 5-2 is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get to do that, cargo ship is still pretty great because you are setting aside some card. Maybe it's a silver, maybe it's some other buy that you got for next turn. So you are basically just having more money over the course of the next 2 turns if you open cargo ship than if you
Yeah.
didn't. And that helps you a lot if there are a lot of cards that cost 5 or 6 that you want in abundance on the board, as there often are.
Right. And I am going to make a note that quite often you're not getting 2 cargo ships. You're just getting the one.
Yeah,
It's a terminal silver at the end of the day.
sure.
I mean, but at the same time, like, often you only donate once. Often you only get, one chapel, and
Yeah,
they're just insane. So, like, cargo ship, it's like, this set's urchin. Like, if you land it and your opponent doesn't, like,
it's
he's gonna be the mayor of Crytown. Like, it's gonna be so hard to come back from that.
he's gonna shed some manly tears for sure. The other use for cargo ship is outside of the open. Obviously, being able to like use it, kind of like the Royal Seal effect, to
Oh, it's
just
better
have
than Royal
something.
Seal. It's
Yeah,
safe, basically.
yeah, like you get to seed your next hand with something that's really good when you're buying when your deck is like really explosive but not super reliable. Like when you
Oh yeah.
need, like if you get a city quarter in your starting hand, you're doing all kinds of great stuff. But how am I getting a city quarter in my starting hand? Well, you buy it with a cargo ship, and then things come together for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Definitely.
all
And
right.
I guess you could say the cargo ship to keep the if you're gonna remember whether cargo ship is good, well, it's a boat on a sea of tears. You could say that.
Yes, these are the opponent's tiers.
Yeah.
The cargo
Cargo
ship
yeah.
is.
The ship is floating on that. All
All
right.
right. So the next card is another 3 cost experiment. It is +2 cards, +1 action. So it's a lab, and return this to the supply. So it's a one-shot lab, but when you gain this, you get another experiment. And then that one doesn't come with another one. They don't chain infinitely, but it's 2 for 1. Whenever you would get one experiment, you get 2 of them.
Right. And
So
you gave it a 4.
I did. I gave it a really low rating.
I think that might be your worst rating. I don't. That was
It's
bad.
it's a
That
hot
was
take.
super wrong. Yeah.
It's a real hot take. You gave it an 8,
I
which
gave it an 8.
I think is
Yes.
high. I think it's a little high for it. Mine is probably a little low, but here's the thing. You know how your evaluation of Duquette went down by seeing people use it really stupidly? That's
Yes.
the same kind of thing that happens with like me and Experiment. I have both made mistakes with it, and I've seen people make mistakes with it where they don't really understand. It's temporary acceleration, but
Yes.
it's really easy to do absolutely nothing if you get
Yeah.
distracted by experiments.
Now, I would say that I would just give it a 7 instead of an 8 just because of that, but it's Experiment. You got to give it an 8. Come on. Like, Experiment's really good. It's an
Yeah,
incredibly good card, but you have to understand it's not draw. Yeah, it says +2 cards. Yeah. Ignore that. Unless you have Ironworks, it's not draw. If you have Ironworks, that's a different story. You can draw all of them and regain them. It can work. But if you don't have a gainer to gain experiments non-terminally, it's not draw. It's supplemental draw, and you should never use it as your primary draw.
yeah,
And that's the big warning. So just be careful because it is a one shot. And if you're not doing things on your turns when you're playing the experiment to better your deck, then you just did nothing. So also don't just play experiments blindly. Play
oh
them
yeah.
tactically. You might want to save one for another turn. Oh, I hit 5. Do I really need to cycle 2 cards, or can I just hold on to this for later? So there's some decisions you have to make. You have to be very deck aware. You have to know what you're doing, what you want to do, and where you want to be. Also, well, I'll just let you talk. Then I have a completely different point now. So
Oh, well, sure. I was just gonna agree with you on that. That like a lot of the time you'll draw the experiment and you will think about like what is this actually doing for my turn if I play it, and it's a little bit like when you have an encampment in your deck. And you draw it and you don't have a gold, or you might not draw the gold or whatever, and you think, well, do I play this? And it comes down to a few different evaluations, like what happens if I don't play it? What am I hoping to draw with it in the first place? Things like that. But using it as your draw, if you have some kind of source of gains, it's a little bit like using Expedition as your only draw. Like, it can happen. It's not impossible, but you
I
need a
think
lot
it's
of
more.
extra buys
It
and money.
it might be more possible than with experiment, to be honest.
Sure.
because with like I don't even feel comfortable saying that. They're both equally terrible at drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna say anything about that.
Yeah, they don't give you like sustained performance. They give you like one or two really good turns in that case,
Yeah,
kind of like
you
mega
you will
turn
open
for.
experiment. You'll open experiment a good amount of the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because silver is your enemy. You don't want silver. Silver is bad. You get silver only if there's really nothing else better to do. And experiment's great at not being silver, so you're gonna get experiment.
Experiment is indeed not a silver. That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's an alternate open to silver.
Yeah.
It's a way to hit 5, a very good way to hit 5, I might add, without getting more than one silver. You could open silver experiment and be fine.
Yeah, there are a
Um,
lot of times when
yeah,
I'll take the experiment too when I'm like trying to set up a big mint or a trade or something like that.
yeah. There's just a lot of tactical things you can do. Again, you need to have deck awareness. You need to know what you want to do. Um, and going completely off track, like we could
Sure.
talk up. You could spend an hour talking about the tricks you could do with experiment. Like
Yeah.
you could process experiment. Wow. Well, you process an experiment, it goes back to the supply. You play it twice, and then you can gain another procession or something. So there you go. It draws.
Yeah.
That I think you could use that as draw if you have enough buys and payload. You could absolutely make that work. If an experiment's in the trash, you can play Necromancer and it will draw and it will work and it won't go back. Um, I think that's all I'm remembering.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
pile control. This
yes.
thing, the experiments pile will drain really fast, and having that deck awareness of all right, it's your last turn. You know you have the win. You have a bunch of experiments in your hand, so you really need to know what you need to win, and you need to know that as you're playing. So you need to be cautious. All right, I can play one experiment. So you like if there's an odd number of experiments, you might as well play another one because well, you're getting them two at a time. So
You're
you don't have
talking
to.
about specifically the situation where
Yeah.
you're gonna win because you're emptying experiments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Um, you have to watch that. Absolutely, it's 5 games and that pile is gone. And you forget that because people play experiments to draw all the time. We're still in that phase where everyone's using experiments as a draw when they should just be using a supplementary draw. Like okay, well, it's just helping me draw my deck. It's not drawing my deck because it can't. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so I think we're gonna start shifting a little bit towards okay, well, experiments will just start running a little bit more as time goes on as a pile out. I think, but
Well,
we'll see.
it's hard to say because there are piles like this, like ports. You go into a game that has port, which has a similar effect to experiment on the gains, and or
Yeah,
magpie. You just know
but
that pile's
but
gone.
but port is a completely different story. You
Yeah,
have to buy port and you have to buy it 6 times.
yeah,
Experiment, you can just butcher an estate. Boom. You only have it's just 4 gains. It's not 4 buys. It's 4 gains.
that's
And
true.
Magpie's draining are just like you just accept that. It's like okay, well Magpie's drained. Well, that's not very consequential. There's still other piles, and the game's still very early on. Whereas experiments, you can drain them like that at the end game. So that's just something like the threat is a little more palpable. You have to be a little more careful.
Yeah, the threat is there, and it's a different kind of threat, right? Because like you go into
Yes.
those other piles, you just know that they're going to be gone, but like the experiments can empty, and then that pile like regenerates. So what you're saying is absolutely true. Like the last turn of the game, you could absolutely be aware of how easy the
Yes.
experiments could be to topple at any given time. It's just not going to stay gone, so it's not like setting
Yeah.
up a long-term 3 pile.
There's another thing I want to bring up too, and I have a feeling that people are going to be afraid to do this, but it's okay to remodel experiments. So you have a replace in hand. You buy an experiment. Hey, you've got 2 remodelable things. Okay, you kill one. It doesn't go back. So what? So like you replace a 3 cost into a 5 cost. That's
Yeah,
fine. Like that's a perfectly okay thing to do. I feel like people are afraid to do that, and it's completely fine to do. It's okay to do that. In fact, you're getting more value out of your experiment doing that than if you're just sending it back. So like it's good to do things like that, I think.
you're turning a temporary asset to your deck into a permanent one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Especially if it's like a 5 cost, like that's great. Do
yeah.
that more. Like I need to see more of that. Like you can open remodel experiment. I don't know how good that is off the top of my head, but that seems like a fine open to me.
Well, that seems
Um,
really good to me, but
it seems fine. I don't
I'm
know if it's
not.
good. I'd have to
Well,
test it,
when I do that,
but don't
I'm
be
not
afraid to do
remodeling
things
the
like that.
experiment. I'm opening remodel experiment to
Yeah,
remodel an estate. But yeah,
yeah. But don't be afraid to remodel experiments because it's a 3 cost. It's convenient.
yeah,
It's like remodeling a silver. Like it's okay to do that.
totally.
Yeah, it is. It's okay.
Yeah,
You can lose an experiment. That's okay.
yeah. It'll
I don't know.
it'll come
I
back.
think
They're
that's a thing.
they're easy
I
to
think
get.
that's a thing. I don't know. That's just like something about experiment I don't see people bring up. Like everyone brings up like, oh, it's not real draw. Everyone brings up all this stuff, but I think the remodel thing is something you don't hear much.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Um,
value to it because it's got that on
mhm.
gain to give you like double the trash for benefit fodder. So
Yes.
you move into the next card here is improve, and this card I know is very close to your heart when we were talking about when the set
Not
was.
anymore. Not anymore. But it was. I had it as the best card in Renaissance. Now I probably have it maybe in the top 5, like 4. I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
have an official list, but it's up there. But I don't think it's top. I don't think it's top 3. So
well, what
it's
this card does is cost 3 and give you $2, so it's a terminal silver. And at the start of
yes.
cleanup, what you get to, so it doesn't do anything when you play it, but on cleanup, other than give you the money, on cleanup, when you would discard an action from play, you can trash that action to gain an action costing exactly 1 more than it. Improve does work on itself, so you can play the improve and immediately turn it into a 4 cost for later shuffles.
Right.
And yeah, see, you again gave it
I
a 9. I gave it a
I gave it
5.
a I gave it a 9, and I think I would give it a 7 or 8 now. Um, there's just if there isn't a good 4 on the board, you're not gonna get improve early. And I think if you want to get improve, you're gonna get it early. The best case is opening like Magpie improve. Oh, hey, you turn your Magpie into a Power 5, and then you gain a Magpie, and then whoa, you're suddenly super ahead. It does stuff like that. There's cute things you can do. Like improve is never bad. Like even if you don't open it, you might pick one up later because it's a lot more useful than it looks. Especially killing like 4 cost actions into duchies in the late game. A trick I've seen that I like that I've been kind of keeping close to my vest is improve King's Court. Because if you can play a bunch of King's Courts and you improve it, like
Oh.
improve stacks, it's like break stacks.
Yes.
It's not an in play thing. So if you get like King, improve, 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 well, you're only trashing 2 King's Courts, but you need a lot. Um, you need a lot of King's Courts in play. But if you get a bunch of King's Courts in play and a bunch of improves, oh, suddenly you just casually drain 6 provinces. You casually, because you'll buy a province too. You'll have the money.
Yeah, that's
And
cute.
presumably you'll have buys too and all of that. So you'll buy like 2 provinces. You'll drain like 3 or 4, and then suddenly your opponent has 2 provinces left. And well, hey, good luck.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. One more broken thing King's Court does, but yeah, also improve like is pretty good in that respect. Like you said, it's a nice little piece of utility for your deck. It's great to be turning actions into better actions, but it's also great because there are actions that you're at a certain point like done playing. Like even if there isn't a 5 cost I want, I'm very happy to improve my Spice Merchant once it's done its thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you'll get improved pretty often for
Oh,
various reasons.
improve Spice Merchant's a great open, by the way. Like that's
Yeah,
perfect. That's a perfectly fine open.
yeah.
Um,
Improved Silk Merchant is obviously the power combo that we saw a lot of in
that's
the
one of
Renaissance tournament.
you're gonna always open that. Like
Yeah,
that's just you see it, you open it. Like almost
totally.
always. It's just so good. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
good. That's the thing. Don't forget that one.
yeah,
Definitely. I
it's
mean, if you're not opening Silk Merchant nearly every time anyway, you're not gonna win a lot of games. You have to open it nearly every
oh
time.
yeah, Silk Merchant's fantastic. Uh, so your rating on it went down a little bit. Mine went up a little bit, and I think we settle on the same place around the 7-8 range with improve. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
card. Yeah,
Yeah, I like it a lot.
yeah. All right. So the next one we have, we're into the 4 costs now. Flagbearer. It gives you plus $2. It's another terminal silver. Doesn't do anything other than be the terminal silver. But when you gain or trash Flagbearer, you take the flag, and the flag is an artifact, I think they're called, or something, where you get +1 card at when you're drawing your starting hand. So it's kind of like you have a hireling uh, that can be taken away from you by the opponent getting flag bearers or trashing them.
Yes. You gave it a
This
6, and I gave it a 4, and I'm going to stay with my 4 rating. I don't like this card very much. I think it's a noob trap.
Yeah.
I think it's a very bad card. It's good if you're not the first guy to get it, because you're going to win the flag war in the end, and your opponent has to buy a flag. Like, all right, if your opponent buys a flag, you have to buy flag. You have to. At some point, you have to make that call.
That's the part I disagree with. I think this card is fine. I'm gonna lower to a 5 on it. Like, I think it's average, but I think that the second mover disadvantage thing, or the flag war as they're called, is like super overblown right now.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I
think it's real. I thought it was overblown, but no, I think it's real now. I think it's very real.
Leaving your opponent with the flag is dangerous. Like, you need to be aware of what it's doing for them. And
yes,
honestly,
and
taking it from them is more important than having it yourself.
So my opponent gets the first flag. All right, I'll get the flag. Then my opponent, oh shoot, he has the flag. Now I have to get the flag. You have 2 terminal 4-cost silvers in your deck that do nothing. They're terrible cards. I'm happy to have my opponent have 2 of those. It gets a little more complicated when you have to trash the flag, and then you kind of have to get a little tactical. Go, well, maybe I'll buy it instead of trashing it, and then I'll trash it twice. Like, you do like little tactical things, but like for the most part, I think the second mover thing is absolutely real.
I mean,
I think it's a real thing.
It's real. You think about it, but you also think, like, why did the opponent feel the need to take the flag in the first place?
Because he's a dumb person.
Because he's dumb. But usually when I'm taking the flag, it's because I'm using it as like a really crappy ghost town. It's usually when I'm taking the flag.
Yeah, you can do that.
I need to draw a card right now for some reason. So, like, if you take the flag right after,
you'll do them.
Of course, I'm sad about it, but like, I mean, whatever. I took the flag because
you'll do that, and you'll pay a heavy price by giving your opponent a free permanent caravan if you do nothing about it. Like, it's a very expensive card. Like, it's very expensive to buy, and the repercussions of your buy will hurt you for multiple turns after you buy it, because it's a bad card by itself. You're getting 1 turn of benefit, and your opponent could get more turns of benefit out of it than you. So it's
true.
It's a card that you really need to be careful when you're buying it, and it's a flashy card. It's a simple card. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna buy it, but I don't like this card very much.
This is true.
I'm not very high on it.
I mean, I am lower on it than I was. Now, I will say I really like it. Not necessarily I think it's really powerful. I like it
as a design, but
it's really fun.
It doesn't mean it's a good card.
No,
I don't think it's a good card at all.
I mean, any time in Dominion that you can like get into a pissing contest over something that doesn't matter, I'm at least gonna appreciate that aspect of the design.
Okay.
So next up we get Hideout. And Hideout is another 4-cost. It's a village, plus card, plus 2 actions. Trash a card from your hand. If it's a victory card, you gain a curse.
Yes.
So this was interesting. We both gave this a 6. And
I think I'm inclined to keep it a 6, actually. Yeah. I think it's about where it is.
Yeah, I want to say that you and I were kind of, the voice of reason with this. Like, everyone who I talked to was super, super excited about Hideout just because it's this card you can open with that's a village and a trasher. But, like, you think about it, and it's the most awkward combination of effects that you want in a way that makes you maybe not even want them. It's not as potent as if...
I don't often open Hideout.
Yeah.
I will say that immediately. I don't often open Hideout. I will open Hideout if I have ways to gain cards. Like, if I could pair it with... I don't know. If I could pair it with Improve, I would. That would be a good combo. If there's Alms and I can get, like, an Ironworks going. Or if Hideout and Steward, that's great. Hideout and Steward is great. You're going to open that a lot. But for the most part, Hideout is not a very good opener. It really doesn't do all that much for you. It's now I will say, and this is another thing I want to talk about, and people are starting to realize this, but like, you're not afraid to trash a state to curse. You're not afraid. You don't care. You're gonna kill the curse later. Like, oh no, you gain a curse. Who cares?
Well,
It doesn't matter.
the issue is that you didn't thin at that point.
Yeah.
It's not that you've really set yourself back by having a curse. It's more just that you.
But I think people get psychologically scared.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gaining a curse, so they don't do it, even though like they like rationally, and then there's that ticking in the back of their like. That's what I'm afraid is going on a lot.
Sure, they hit 4 instead of 5 because they didn't want to take a curse.
Yeah.
And now they're sad because their deck is bad.
Yes, you're gonna take a 5 over trashing a cop
Yeah.
with Hideout. You're gonna do that. Well, unless the 5's like an explorer or something. Also, estates are kind of like a blessing for Hideout too, if you want to use it as a village, which is one of the most interesting and awkward things you'll ever do. Exactly. You just have to remember it. It's a blessing because hey, I get 2 trashes. It's great.
It needs food.
It works. Yeah, it's food, so you can trash estates to it, and then you can kill your curse on the second play. It works out fine.
Yeah. So like
with awkward cards, I like to say a lot. Well, yeah, it's awkward for you, but it's also awkward for your opponent, and then you kind of forget it's awkward. You forget it's awkward because you forget your opponent has to deal with it too, and that kind of gives you a little confidence boost. It's like, yeah, you're not the only one, right?
Yeah, feel it inside.
Yeah.
I mean, this card, you tell me that I can have access to this card that I can open with that gives me a village and lets me trash these 2 deck control functions that I'm really excited to be putting in my deck at the beginning of the game, but then it's like implemented in a way that's like the worst for the beginning of the game because it's telling you to either not thin cards, which is not terrible, but it's not ideal to be doing it that way.
No, you're not going to open for that.
Right, or you are trashing a copper out of your hand, and at the beginning of the game, copper is the best card in your deck. So not to say that you want it long term, but like you need to buy things, and Hideout is not great at helping you do that. So.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly balanced card. You look at it and you think, oh my gosh, Donald has jumped the shark, and he has jumped the shark with this set. I'll tell you, but Hideout's not one of the cards.
Yeah,
it's actually a surprisingly well balanced card.
Yeah,
and I would say most of the time you're not going to open it. I think that's the secret. If you have another trasher to pair with the Hideout, okay, go ahead, because it's like you're opening double steward. People do that.
Sure.
But otherwise, I think just be cautious about it. I think I would rather hit 5 than open Hideout. So that's usually what I like to go for.
Yeah.
But it depends on the board, of course. But that's just kind of my thinking on it.
Yeah. All right. So, obviously it's great if you're being junked as well. Like, yeah. If you're getting hit by like Wish or something, yeah, then it's great. Next up we have Inventor, and Inventor is a 4-cost action. It's the workshop variant of this set, and it is gain a card costing up to 4. Then, after you've done the gain, cards cost 1 less, but not less than 0.
I love that I underrated this, despite it being bridge. Like, this is a 9 or a 10, easily, for me. But I gave it a 7. Good. I don't know why I gave it a 7. I think it was just I saw everybody going, oh my bridge, and it's like slightly worse than bridge, so I'm like, I'm gonna give this a 7. I'm gonna be a contrarian piece of shit, but I'm just completely wrong here. It's like a 9 or a 10, easy, like no question.
So I'm sticking with 7, but I still okay. It's a really good card.
I don't think you're not standing with that a year from now. I guarantee it.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong here, but. So like Inventor's real good. It's really good payload. Yeah. But like a 7 for me is means it's a really good card for the record. And I mean it's really bad at doing a mega turn. Like
what? No, that's a lie.
It can do a mega turn.
Over half the time when I see Inventor on the board, I'm like, oh, it's an Inventor, and then I do it, and then I win. Like, because people don't associate Inventor with Bridge Megaturn, but it can do it almost as well.
Well, but it's not almost as well because you have to be
Oh,
using
it
your
is almost
gains
as
before
well.
you get the cost reduction. Like, so
Well, then here's what you do. You gain and play, right? You thin
yeah,
down your deck, you Inventor gain an Inventor, you draw the Inventor with a village, you Inventor gain, and suddenly you're doing these chains and crazy stuff that you couldn't do with Bridge. It makes
this is
up for the
true.
fact that it's not Bridge by gain and play.
Now, I will say that the edge it has on Bridge is that you're going to put this in a lot more decks than.
I would. That's a hot take too.
Well, sure.
You're putting this as in many decks as you're putting in with Bridge. Like they're functionally the
Yeah.
same.
Well,
Now I will say Inventor is worse than Bridge, but like
this
zero
isn't
point
as
0.5 worse.
it's
It's
not
like
as
0.5
good.
worse.
It's not as good at doing the Bridge Megaturn thing as Bridge is, but it does more things. Like the fact that it
Yeah,
can be
sure.
a workshop for you that gives you $1. That's like conservative, like worst use case. That's still a really good card. So like
Wow.
all in all, I'd say this is like not such a great Megaturn enabler. Although
What?
I reserve the right to be wrong.
All
Um,
right, all right. Your homework is going to be playing against Lord Rat with Inventor on the board and making it work because you're doing something wrong.
all right,
You got to make it work.
better yet,
There's ways to make it work.
how about you and I do some kind of Inventor cage match and
Sure.
school me on it?
Okay.
Because I believe you. I need to see it happen because I have gone for the Inventor Megaturn quite a few times and fallen on my face. I will
Okay.
say
Well, fair enough. Well,
when
you
the
have to be smart with gain and play. Like you have to be really smart about it.
one one
It's
thing I
hard to
will
do right
say,
too. I
yeah,
mess it up myself. It's hard to do.
if you are if the Inventor Megaturn is what you're going for, I will say that the Inventor split is pretty crucial
Yeah.
because having 6 versus 4 Inventors is a huge
But being able to play
difference.
all the inventors is just as crucial. If you can't play all
Yeah.
the inventors, then what are you doing? There's no mega turn. So you have to be able to do that as well. So don't forget that.
Well, right. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
All right. So that was Inventor, and next we have Mountain Village. Mountain Village is a village, 2 actions. Look through your
Mm-hmm.
discard pile and grab a card from it into your hand. If you can't do that because your discard pile is empty, instead you just draw a card. So I gave this a 6, and you gave it an 8.
Yeah. I'm leaning 7 or 8. I think it's pretty similar to where I am. I labeled it as one of the best villages in the game, and I still think it is. It has its downsides, but its upside is much higher than its downside. Now, but once in a while, the downside will mess you up, like such as with, all right, well, there's Witch on the board. Well, okay, you're really sad. You're still going to get Mountain Village anyway, despite it being a necropolis, because it's a village. Suck it up, Buttercup. It's a village. Like, you're going to get it.
Yeah,
It does have its downsides, but for the most part, I think it's an incredible village.
I totally agree with you that 90% of this card is that it says +2 actions on it, and it keeps your hand size neutral. So, like, for
Yeah.
me, I honestly rate this just the same as regular Village. For me, they're just the same card. I mean, I understand Mountain Village has this potential upside. It's also a potential downside. It kind of comes out in the wash for me. Like, there are going to be times when that upside is really good. There are going to be times when I wish it just said +1 card. So a 6 for me is where I put regular Village. I'm putting this there too. I mean, it's a good card.
I think the good outweighs the bad for
Yeah,
Mountain Village, so I think 7 or 8 is a
sure.
fine rating, but
Um,
doesn't really matter.
yeah, I mean,
It's a village, you'll get it, but it's a good village, so you'll get it. You're still getting it. Yeah, if it's Shantytown, you're gonna get it. Like, it doesn't matter.
right, or even
Um,
acting troupe, maybe.
yeah,
But yeah, so Patron is a reaction card. It's the only blue card in the set, I think.
and you gave it a 4 like a madman. I don't know why.
Um, yeah, I'll reevaluate that. I'm not going too much higher up from 4. I'll go higher, but so it's a 4 cost action that gives you 2 money. It's a terminal silver and +1 villager. So it's potentially a non-terminal terminal silver. And whenever something causes you to reveal it using the word reveal, you get a coffers off of it. So
Yeah,
yeah, the best case scenario is that you don't have to spend that villager right away, so that you can get the money from it now not have to play any more actions and then bank it for later.
Yes, it's a great card at converting your actions into villagers. That is an overlooked thing about it. So it's kind of a half village, and that's what I really like about Patron. I gave it a 7, but I think I'm going to give it a 6 now. But like, that's not to say it's bad. I'll buy this over silver almost all of the time. It's a good card.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
The coffers thing, I think I overstated a little bit. I got really hyped up on one game where I was doing mass border guard and patron, where in reality I was just like, I'm playing Lord Rat, I'm getting unlimited access to all of the patrons, all of the border guards, and also my opponent is terrible because it's Lord Rat, so I had like all the time in the world to print money, and realistically, you don't have that time. So it was kind of an interesting. I got a little tricked. In my assessment of Patron, but I don't think it's bad by any means. And printing money is, you could still do that with Patron. It's just not as effective as you might think at first glance.
Yeah, there's the idea that you could get a bunch of coffers off of it, but really I think that reveal bonus is just more of a cute little gimmick to the card. I don't think it's usually worth building around as something that...
Yeah, I think I can agree.
Yeah, like, you'll certainly take that coffer if you can get it, but...
Yeah, of course. I've seen games where people win because they got a ping on the black market, though. Like,
I've seen that too.
Those games are bullshit. It's like, oh, I'm a coin short, ping. Oh, damn it.
Yeah,
like I've seen that.
Patron has this hilarious interaction where if you reveal it from the black market deck, you don't have to buy it. You just have to look at it because it says reveal on it, and you get a coffer.
Man, you get a coffer, and I've seen someone win because of that. So,
yeah,
like, it's happened. It's already happened.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, the thing that you're really wanting to do with this is bank your villager. I think that's the main thing. Other than that, it's kind of one of those strictly better than silver, quote unquote. Like, the only time that I would take silver over this is if the pile is low and I don't want it to be, or I might draw it dead. And that's it. Yes. Other than that, you take this over silver.
Yeah, pretty easily, I would imagine. Well, silver's bad, so you take most things over silver. So
yeah, right. I'll take copper. I'll usually take copper over silver if you force my hand. So
come on, not that bad. So, I mean, I would take silver over Duquette for sure, because Duquette's even worse. But
yeah, I mean,
anyway, that's whatever.
Duquette's sewers. We'll get to sewers. But for now, another trasher. We have a $4 card, Priest. It gives you $2 and lets you trash a card from your hand. For the rest of this turn, as long as that Priest is out, whenever you trash a card, plus $2. So there's this idea that you play multiple Priests and each one gives you more money than the last.
All right.
Or other trash effects, yeah?
Yeah. Everyone has a hard-on for Priest, but honestly, like, I rated this a 7. I think I'm gonna give it a 5 now. It's like a slightly better trade route. Like, okay, not that bad. It's like Sacrifice. Like, it's terrible. It's not good at trashing. Everyone has so everyone has this idea in their head, well, I can Throne Priest, I can King's Court Priest, I can play all these priests and do this trashing combo, get all the buys together, get all the draw together, trash all this stuff, do this giant Priest Megaturn. Like, everyone's fantasized over that at night. Come on, let's be honest. I have, you have, we all have. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. That's the secret. It never happens.
Well,
it's like a swindle. Like, all right. So what here? It's like the I'm gonna make a terrible football analogy, but it's like there's someone who's like an apologist for an NFL quarterback that's underperforming, who's not doing very well. Well, if you had an offensive line and a wide receiver and a good coach and a defense and this and that and a running game and good scheme, then he'll be great. It's like, well, you've just given him everything. So, and that's what Priest is. That's what the Priest Megaturn is to me. It's like, okay, well, for the Priest Megaturn to work, you need tons of draw because you have all this junk and you're going to dud. So you need tons of draw. You need tons of buy to buy the junk to trash to and to also use with the Megaturn. You need tons of things to trash, tons of draw, tons of buy, tons of Priest, tons of terminal space, by the way. You need lots of villages. And it's like, well, then take Priest out of that and you're going to win a game without it.
Yeah,
you don't need Priest to do that.
You could slot payload in at that point.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Like it's the Great Deception. Now that being said, there are boards where you will do it, but you're going to do it on a much smaller scale. You're not. It's going to be boards where it's like, oh, there's Wolf Den on the board. Oh, there's Wall and Wolf Den on the board. Darn, I have to play with Priest. Yeah, something like that. Like it's stuff like that where you have to work around it because to do the alternative is just so horribly horrifying that you have no choice.
You are right that making the priest megaturn happen, this fantasy where these priests are scaling up to give you so much money that you can just outright win the game. I have done that one time, but like it was my opponent wasn't playing super well, so I could have done anything, and I was just having fun.
Yeah.
Now I will say that despite how difficult that bottom effect is to use, I still think this is one of the strongest cards in the set because it's not about that second effect. If you took that out, if you just said plus $2 trash a card from your hand, I would still call this one of the strongest cards in the set because
so you would call Sacrifice one of the strongest cards in any set.
No. The Sacrifice doesn't do what Priest does. Priest lets you trash an estate and hit 5. You don't have to choose.
So Priest is just a bad money lender.
Priest
but it can trash everything.
But it can trash estates. Like, Priest is helping you way more than Moneylender. It stays relevant in your deck for almost the entire game, unlike Moneylender. Priest is one of the best trashers, I think.
Really funny that I say bad Moneylender. It's going to be like the opposite of what I'm saying now, but like I'm already looking forward ahead to. But yeah, Priest, man, it trashes a single card.
But
you'll open Priest Silver. It'll help you hit 5. You'll do that.
It'll help you hit 5 and get rid of your states.
You're never excited about it though.
Oh man,
I'm never excited. You're excited to trash with Priest?
I am, because I'm getting to trash.
Have you ever played a King's Court Megaturn? Like, have you ever had fun in your life?
No.
How do you have fun with this?
Wait, we're supposed to have fun with Dominion?
No, we're not.
Okay, good. So I have had the Priest Fortress Megaturn thing has happened.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So obviously, I mean, there are a lot of things you can say. Well, if you have Fortress,
that could actually work. I didn't think about that. That could actually work.
Yeah,
I think there's also this combo you can do where it's like, all right, you have a Watchtower in hand, you've played like 3 priests, you have a Traveling Fair or something, and you just do like infinite buy and coin. I don't know the specifics, but you can do it. It's just a really specific combo with like 3 different cards.
I had a really weird game when Renaissance first came out and I was playing online where I had I think it was 3 or 4 priests in play and multiple buys, and I did the math and I got more money by buying Ritual and trashing a gold in my hand than I would have by playing the gold. So that was weird. I've also had a weird game where like the best econ was getting priests in play and then playing raises to trash themselves. Like, I will say, as weird as it is to rely on this extra money from the priest trashing, as hard as it is to do, it will lead you to some of the weirdest, jankiest games that give you some good stories about like inexplicable decks that came together.
And I was bashing the mega combo, but if you can get a priest in play and then like, priest and lurker, that's an obvious one.
Yeah,
that's actually really good. Like there's stuff you can do where it's actually quite fine. Did I give this a 5? Really? Okay, man. I'll give it a 6. Fine. I'll give it a 6.
I have you with it as a 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 initially, and then I said, no, it's a 5, and now...
Alright.
Okay, fine, I'll give it a 6.
Alright, we got you to above average. I'm satisfied with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so next up we have Research, and Research is another duration card. It's orange, and it says plus action, it's non-terminal. Trash a card from your hand. Per coin it costs, set aside a card from your deck face down on it. At the start of your next turn, all those cards you set aside, they go into your hand.
Yeah.
It's a crappy apprentice.
You gave it an 8, and then and I'm reading what you're saying.
I was wrong.
And you're talking foaming at the mouth. So like if if you're rating something and then you're talking about how you're foaming at the mouth,
Yeah.
maybe
So
you shouldn't be making hot takes. I don't know.
this is true. No, it was a
You
really
gave it
hot
an 8.
take.
You gave
No,
research an 8.
I gave
I
it an
don't get
8.
it.
I was super wrong. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
whenever you hand me non-terminal trashing, I'm gonna get excited because I'm like, oh, I can put a bunch of these in my deck and thin down really quickly because I have a bunch of my trasher.
Yeah.
And problem is that's bad. That's the problem with that.
Yeah. Even in its best case, research fortress, you think, ooh, that's kind of spicy. It's actually not. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's better than not doing it, but like it's way worse than you would think.
It's kind of got the archive problem where like those cards
archive is so do not compare research to archive.
No,
archive is so much better than this card.
I'm with you. Archive is better, but like the archive has this problem as being draw where like you want to use it to control your deck and it's good at it, but then those cards are out of your shuffle, so you can't be drawing them that turn and doing stuff with them.
Yeah, but you're fine with that. Research, it's like, oh, it's all at once. You don't get to save for the next year turns. You just get them, and then you don't get to pick whatever you want out. It's like less choice. It's worse.
I mean,
I gave this a 6, and I think I overestimated it when I gave it a 6. Like I kind of knew it wasn't all that great, but yeah, I think I'm giving it a 4.
I'm going down to a 5.
It's like a non-terminal trade route. It's like sucky. I don't like it.
I mean, it does more than trade route. Like it's fair because you do open it and the thing
trade route gives buy. Trade route gives buy. Come on, don't lie to me.
Trade route gives buy, but this trashes estates and actually seeds. It actually gives you a benefit for it. So like the idea, the big thing you're doing with research is opening with it and trashing an estate, and that's a really good situation. Is when you do get to trash an estate and then use it to spike for your next hand and get this 5 or 6 that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Like it's not great.
I'm reading the next. I'm reading the next card. I'm reading my take on the next card for Silk Merchant.
Oh yeah. So
it's funny.
Yeah, research missing a state though is if you open research and you get it in a hand of 4 coppers, you should probably just cry and quit Dominion forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about research. It's boring. It's super boring. I hate research.
But what isn't boring is this next one, which is kind of the star of the show with this set. A lot of talk about Silk Merchant.
The more exciting card, but it's not the star of the show.
Well,
there is a better card than Silk Merchant in this set. Actually, there's 2 if you count projects, but we're not going to talk about projects cards.
Well, when I say
there is
one
better
show,
card.
I mean it's like this. There's so much to say about this card. For so many reasons.
Fair enough.
So Silk Merchant is a 4-cost action, 2 cards plus buy, plus 2 cards plus buy. When you gain or trash this, plus coffers and plus villager.
Yeah.
Whew.
Okay. I can't believe people ever underestimated this. Well, actually, I can believe it. I underestimated it when I saw it, but I can't believe I did that. Like, it was insane. You look at it and you're just like, oh, it's a moat with a buy on it. But you're just like, oh, it's just a moat with a buy on it. Oh, it's so much better than a moat with a buy on it. Holy cow.
You're going to get this I gave it like all the time. You're like, it's so rare to not get Silk Merchants in your game. I can't even comprehend it. It's
so rare to not open Silk Merchant, too.
Yeah. Right. Wandering Winder did a fantastic video where he went over the math of why opening Silk Merchant is so good, which you should definitely check out. But to sort of paraphrase it, basically, you're 100% to hit 5 if you want that. You are, I think, 100% to hit 6 if you want that and are willing to finagle your shuffle around it. And you're like 90% to hit 7 if you want to. So like, if you open it with a Silk Merchant and a silver.
Yeah. So there's nothing to say about this card that hasn't been said already. I think I probably put it best when I rated this card a 9, and I said if you're sleeping on this card by now, you're not. And ironically, I slept on the card by not giving it a 10. So I'm going to give it a 10 now.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm with you on that. I will say the thing that I've seen that I think is not so people are playing this a little suboptimally. The Silk Merchants, I'm seeing them be too eager to trash them because the trash effect is nice. But like this is a fine card to keep in the deck too. Like +2 cards plus buy. That's something you need at a certain
Uh,
point in the game. I have won games for sure because I held on to more Silk Merchants than my
I think
opponent
if
did.
anything, I hold on to them too much. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's a balance, and it's going to be down to the
Yeah,
board. But like, don't
definitely.
think that just because it gives you a benefit, that means you have to trash it the first opportunity you get. Like, the card is
Yeah, it's like
fine.
cultist. People don't trash cultist. They
Yeah,
just it's got a trash for benefit.
yeah,
Oh, hunting grounds has a trash for benefit. Gains you
yeah.
3 estates. You move into the end game. That's pretty
Nice.
spicy. And then
Yeah.
you never do it because it's bad. But
Or
yeah.
yeah, you're piling out. Yeah, sure. But
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, Silk Merchant's fantastic. It's one of the sexiest cards in the set for sure.
Yeah.
So next up, we move into the fives, and the first one is Old Witch, and Old Witch is an attack. It's +3 cards, and each other player gains a curse. But then each other player gets to trash a curse from their hand. So they get to do the trashing even if the curses are out. So the and you're giving them curses, but they're also getting them back. So RTT compared the junking from Old Witch to like taking your minus card token, and I think that that's a good comparison because these curses are like temporary. It's not a permanent defect to your deck.
It's not that clear cut. You have to draw the curse in hand first, of
Yeah,
course. And there's
right.
a good chance you won't draw all of them. There's just going to be some that harass you.
Yeah, he
I
qualified it a little more than I
yeah,
just
yeah,
did,
yeah.
but yeah.
I gave it a 9. I'm kind of on a witch hating spree now. Like I kind of just hate witch. Like witch is so overrated. Like witch is good. You'll get a witch. Yeah, yeah. There's a good trasher on the board.
Sure.
You don't, or you delay it. It's like I'll give it an 8 instead of a 9. I mean, it's good. It's like I'm not denying witch is good, but am I saying it's overrated? Yeah, it probably is. An old witch is about the same as witch, really. I mean, it's probably slightly worse or slightly better depending on what you want to do.
I think it's mostly about the +3 cards. This card is the same way
Yeah.
that like Idol is not really about the junking. I think that Old Witch is better at junking than Idol is for sure, but like it's not. The junking is a nice benefit that it gives you on top of this Smithy variant, which is what you're really going for. Um, but
Right.
yeah, and I think people are, if anything, I've seen it underbought. I think because people are like, well, the junking is just temporary, but like a lot of junking is temporary. I mean,
Yeah, Old Witch is probably underbought. I could
yeah.
buy that scenario.
All right, so we get into Recruiter, which I think we can
Which
both
is
agree.
spoilers is the best card in Renaissance easily.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll side
It's
with
a
that.
10.
Yeah,
I gave it a
it's
9, but that was being conservative. I should give it an 11. Really.
11 out of 10
It's
at
in fact,
least.
I say it's the best card in Renaissance.
That's saying a
That's
lot
like
because
yeah, that's like saying like it's just drastically understating how good Recruiter is. Like Recruiter to me is the best card in Dominion. We're not talking
oh,
about like donates and
interesting.
invent, blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah. Yeah, we're
right.
not talking about this. We're talking about cards.
Kingdom cards.
Recruiter is the best card in Dominion. Just
Okay.
hands down, it's the best card in Dominion. Like there is no better card in Dominion than Recruiter
I mean, it's
for
really
me.
fantastic. People said that about Masquerade when Masquerade came out, and Recruiter does a
Hmm.
lot of the stuff that Masquerade does. Look,
Except better.
yeah, and also worse because it does things
No.
slightly. So what Recruiter does is it's a 5 card action. You get to draw 2 cards, then trash a card from your hand. You get 1 villager per coin it costs. So it is a Masquerade variant of like +2 cards, trash a card, and then you get villagers. So obviously this is fantastic. Drawing 2 and then trashing a card means that if you get this early, you are almost certainly getting to trash an estate. The fact that you get some, or whatever you want to trash at any given time, the fact that you get some benefit out of it, it's just icing on the cake. It lets you hedge against drawing things dead with your recruiters, unlike, say, Masquerade or what have you would. It's really, really powerful.
Yes. It's best card in Dominion. Powerful, you could say.
Yeah, you could say that, and I wouldn't fault you for it. Like it's not crazy to say this is the best card in Dominion. I think it's your first five, like pretty much whenever you
Always.
can. Yeah, pretty much.
Like the only time I might skip it is like
Donate.
I don't even want to say Mountebank. I like okay, Mountebank, sure, but like that doesn't mean Mountebank's a better card. No, like
So
there are more boards where Mountebank is bad than there are Recruiter is bad. I think
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there are the card isn't perfect. It has shortcomings. The
it's
trash.
not draw.
It's
It's
not
also
draw,
not draw. Yeah,
and the
don't treat this like a draw card because it's not.
it's a mandatory trasher. So there are phases of some games where it starts being a dead card in your deck. Um,
Unless there's Fortress, in which case, hey, enjoy your free champion you just
right.
bought 5 for. Like it's a champion at that point,
Yeah.
and that will be draw. So don't be afraid. That will be draw. A Fortress for sure.
Yeah.
But like outside
Definitely.
of that, yeah, it'd be a little worry.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. I mean, draw two trash one is so powerful. Yeah. There's not a whole lot to say about it except it's amazing. Buy this.
Yep.
All right, so Scepter is a treasure. Oh, fun fact: when we were playtesting, I was afraid that this was going to be the broken thing in Renaissance. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's not. I was
no,
afraid of
it's
that
not.
too, but
Oh, were
no.
you? I'm not the only one.
I was at first, and then I played
Yeah,
with it, and I'm like, oh, this
this is
card sucks.
underwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Scepter is a treasure that costs 5. When you play this, choose. You can have 2 money. You can be a silver, or you can replay an action card that you have played this turn and is still in play. Uh,
Yeah, I gave it a 7. It's kind of closer to a 6 than a 7, but I'll stick with 7. I did say it's better than Charm, which is a lie. Charm is a better card, but not
so
by much, really. I mean, they're kind of the same-ish.
I give it a 6. This the thing you want to be doing with it is obviously replaying the actions. You can play it as a silver, but that's like a consolation prize. But it's a really situational effect, potentially quite powerful. But that's okay because it does have this silver mode, and you're getting some value out of it if you play it that way. If you can line it up with a trasher or a junking attack, or maybe some extra payload you need, that's great. But there are a lot of times when you'd rather just have another copy of that 5 cost action than have the Scepter. I mean, the Scepter doesn't take an action to play, but um, yeah, this is not lighting the world on fire.
No.
All right, so let's get into Scholar, which I was calling Seprix for a really long time because your avatar. Um,
Yeah, I've been kind of switching it to that lately. I don't know why. I should probably switch it back, but whatever.
another 5 cost action. This one's simple: discard your hand and draw 7 cards. So, what do you think?
Yeah. I gave it a 6. I'm more inclined to give it a 5 or a 4 now. It's great with stuff like Villa, but so is Library. It's Library. How often do you get Library? You never get Library, so you'll never get Scholar. But when you get it, when you get either of them, you'll get Scholar over Library
Yeah, I mean,
because it's slightly better. So
this one does
basically the same card.
it does better stuff for you, I think, than the Library does. It's got all the like usual draw to X synergies, but I'd rather just have a Smithy. Like if this, I would rather have a Smithy than a Scholar. If you give me a choice of the two, I'm gonna take the 4 cost Smithy over the 5 cost Scholar.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Now,
yeah,
Villa with Scholar,
yeah,
it's great.
or Black Market with
That's the
Scholar.
yeah. Those are the great combos where it's like okay, I can play a bunch of stuff, put it all into play, and then play the Scholar.
Yeah,
Just like that, it's great. Other than that, yeah, this card sucks. Don't get it.
yeah, it's
Um,
it's draw, but like almost any other option is better.
yeah,
For
it's library. When's the last time you bought library?
uh,
And we're
recent
excited about it.
recently, and I lost, so that's
Well, you're Jake. I
yeah,
mean,
right,
that's gonna be a given. You're gonna lose anyway. I'm just
yeah,
kidding. Um, but yeah, it's not exciting. It's not
yeah,
that. It's just library.
yeah. It has very little text on it though, so it's understandable that it's not exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so next up we have Sculptor, which is another 5 cost action. Gain a card to your hand, costing up to 4. If the card you gained is a treasure, you get +1 villager. This is interesting. Yeah. I gave this a 7.
I gave it a 7. I'm tempted to give it an 8, but I think I'll stick with 7. I could give it an 8 just to piss off Akachi, because he seems to think this card's not very good, but it's great, and he's wrong. Yeah, screw it. I'll give it an 8.
Yeah,
I'll give it an 8.
Well, in the spirit of pissing off Akachi, I'll go ahead and give it a 9. But yeah, no, but
9? Holy shit!
Yeah.
I don't know about 9. I think 8's stretching. I'm just doing that for a joke. I'm really gonna just rate it 7.
No, yeah.
But 9?
I'm kidding. I'm sticking with 7 too.
Okay,
I mean,
okay. Fair enough.
So like gain to hand, it's a pretty rare effect in Dominion. All in all, like it's really good. People forget how good it is because like the only thing we have to compare it to is like Explorer, which is like usually a bad card. But like Sculptor is, I mean, it's pretty good a lot of the time. It's one of the better workshop variants, I think.
Okay.
I mean, being able to bank your action, kind of like the way Patron does, is always appealing. Like if you get to play it non-terminally by itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the card.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think it's quite tactical. I like to say things like, well, silver, it's terrible to buy, but it's great to gain because you get to control when you want it.
Yes.
Now, when you're buying it, you're like, it's better. I guess I'll buy silver. It's better than nothing. And then you're sad about it. But with gainers, hey, I can gain a silver right now. I already have all the pieces in place. Now I need some economy. Now that silver's looking a little good. See, it's all about timing. Did I bump the mic? I'm sorry if I did.
No, you're good.
It's all about timing. And Sculptor, hey, it gives you a village. It gives you a little villager to go with that silver. Sculptor and it gains the silver to hand. It's like, it's really nice. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I like Sculptor a lot just for that. But it gains pieces too. It gains engine pieces too. It gains your 4 costs. It gains your 3 costs. It can help you pile. It's really nice. Oh, it's so nice. I love Sculptor so much.
It's doing really good stuff for you, yeah. So we move into Seer, which you said that Recruiter was the best card in Renaissance, and I am not going to straight up disagree with that, but if you ask me what the best card was in Renaissance, I'm going to strongly consider saying Seer.
This card is my number 2 best.
It's so good. It's a 5-cost action that's plus card.
Right,
yeah.
It's right behind Recruiter for me. Right behind.
Yeah, it's plus card plus
and
action.
You'll be shocked to see what card number 3 is!
Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and any that cost between 2 and 4, put them in your hand. Put the rest back in any order. It's non-terminal draw, right? You look at this and you know it's going to be good, but you play with it and then you you realize like, oh god, I knew this was going to be good. I didn't realize how good though.
Yeah, you read the card and you think, Donald, what the heck were you thinking when you made this? And then you're like, okay. And then you're like, all right, calm down. It's clearly going to be worse than that. And then you play with it.
It's not.
And then you go, oh, Donald, what the heck were you thinking?
Yeah, the number of games.
Wow.
Like, I think that of all the times that I've seen Seer out, I've been able to skip it once. And I've played a lot of Renaissance games. So, like, this card is one of the better draw options. I mean, it's so good that I think you consider not buying expensive cards just to keep it viable.
Yes. Now, there is a bit of this thinking, and then like all the Dominion. No, calm down. Buy silver over gold for Seer. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
Well, I think
you will.
I think you'll take Seer over gold, right, in that money deck. But like,
yes, of course.
Right.
Of course. We're not. That's like not even a dispute. I'm just saying like, silver is a better payload card than gold.
Yeah, it becomes
in a
that
Seer
way.
deck. Yeah, it just ends up being that way, and you're just like, wow, okay.
That's the first thing I was really. Obviously, Seer is really good at enabling all kinds of levels of payload deck, but you I was always really curious as soon as the card came out about like a big money deck basically that plays with Seer and
Yeah.
prioritizes getting Seers and Silvers over like and just ignores golds, and like it turns out that's actually good.
Yeah, it will trip over copper a little bit, but
Yeah,
like really, come on.
you get rid of those
Come
coppers and
on.
you're off to
It's
the races. And
yeah.
the reordering thing is
Oof,
often
it's so
as
spicy.
yeah.
It's like
I'm surprised how often it comes in handy.
yeah, this card's like the best aspects of lab and cartographer. It's like, well, yeah, you can't. It's like, it's just to the point where it's like, Sirius just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you have
What were
little.
they thinking? Have it to 3-4. Don't have it draw states.
Oh, when I was first
Imagine,
yeah.
Seer used to draw, and I swear, I think it used to draw like 1-4, or I think it
Well,
used to draw coppers too.
The first one was 0 to 2.
What?
The first iteration of Seer that I played with was draw. It was 0 to 2, so it was a little less.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
even more insane, I think.
Well, it was different, right? Because like the coppers are no longer your enemy in the Seer deck, but like it doesn't do as much for you in terms of like it doesn't like you're not building a good deck at that point. It's more like apothecary. Yeah, but yeah, I like this version of
3-4 is a
Seer.
little better. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So
Seer's insane. Like, if there's a reason for me to say, Donald X, you need to sit down and make a new game, it's probably going to be Seer. It's like, Donald, you need to calm down. Stop making these cards. Holy cow! What are you thinking with Seer? It's insane.
It's super
like,
good.
What? Like, really? Like, it's already one of the best, if not the best, draw card in the game.
Yeah.
Seer. Like, I don't think it's a stretch to say it. Renaissance has so many of these, like, oh, it's the best card of this category. It's the best card in that category. We got a second Donating Cathedral. We got Recruiter, which is just a buffed up Masquerade. We got Treasurer, which is one of the best cards in the game. We've got, like, so many. We got Spices, which is just straight up way better than Gold. We have all these insane cards. And we've barely talked about these. We have Experiment, we have this, we have Mountain Village, we have that, we have Academy, we have this. It's incredible, like, how broken this set is. Like, you could take out any one of these cards, put them in, like, any of the sets, and it would be, like, near the top of every single set. And this set is just chock full of them. So, like, if there's an argument to be made where it's like, all right, Donald, you need to calm down a little bit. All right, make something else. You're getting a little... Like, you can tell he's kind of getting a little burned out, I think. Just with how strong all of these cards are. He's just kind of like, he's just throw the cards in the air, and it's like, all right, you guys just have whatever powerful things I come up with.
Well,
it's a little crazy.
Although, I will say, though, that these are really powerful, like you're saying, but they're powerful in a way that, like, adds dynamic to the game rather than taking it away. Like, all of these cards are powerful, but they're also super interactive. Like, they're powerful. They're not like cultist, right? They're not like powerful in their
Projects is kind of where that starts falling off for me, because, well, we'll talk about projects when we get to them, but like projects is where I'm just kind of like, okay, because they're just that good. But really good. They're so good, it's incredible. But yeah, it's like, I think the cards are a little too strong, I think.
Well, the next one, you said this is basically better than Gold, and most of the time I'm going to agree with you on this. Spices. It's a 5-cost treasure, gives you $2 and a buy, but when you gain it, you get 2 coffers. So, yeah, I mean, it's payload, it's a treasure.
There's a video on Rewinder made, go
watch it. Spices money is quite good. You basically buy this over Gold, you buy it when you need to buy.
Yeah, it's just better than Gold.
I think it's,
pretty much all the time.
Yeah, the idea that, like, you can get this once you're drawing your deck and be able to...
you'll pick this up, or you'll pick this up sooner. You'll be like, oh, I want some coffers. Sure. Okay, well, you'll just buy Spices. Hey, I want a silver, it's around time. I'll save these coffers to smooth out my next couple of turns. It's just good. It's just a good card. I gave it a 7? 7 sounds about right.
Yeah,
it's a good card.
I gave it a 7 too.
I wouldn't give it an 8. It's like a 7.
Yeah, I mean it's still just giving you money and a buy.
Yeah.
Like it's really good at doing that. But all right, so next up we have Swashbuckler. It is +3 cards, and if your discard pile has any cards in it, +1 coffer. But if you and then if you have at least 4 coffers, you get to take the treasure chest. And the treasure chest
Yeah.
is at the beginning of your buy phase, you gain a gold. So you get a free gold every turn. It's not optional, you have to take the gold. Um,
Yeah.
but it's also hard
Um.
hard to get the chest too.
Oh, it's very hard to get the chest.
Yeah.
Um.
You have to you can't just have 4 coffers from other sources. You have to get the coffer from Swashbuckler to check
Yeah,
if you're eligible for chest.
that's what tripped me up because I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I just need 4 coffers and I'll play it and it'll work. No, that doesn't work.
No,
Now
you
you
have to.
can get 4 coffers, but you still have to earn that 1 coffer, and it's just like, oh, come on.
It is deceptively difficult to get that coffer with
It's very
Swashbuckler.
difficult. Yeah.
When Adam first brought this out, the proxy of it when we were testing, I read it +3 cards, +1 coffer, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? What?" And then he's like,
Well, given the rest of this set, you really shouldn't be that surprised.
"Well, right," but then he's just like, "Calm down, Jake. Let's see if you can actually get that coffer." And I tried all night to get it. I got it like once. Yeah, and it's
I gave it a 6. I'll bump it up to 7 because it's draw and you'll get draw.
yeah, I gave it an 8.
Okay. I mean, I guess 7's one away from 8, but I think 8's kind of a stretch.
You could talk me down to 7. I mean, the thing is, like, if Tragic Hero teaches us anything, it's that gold's a really good card when you can draw it. So the fact that Swashbuckler can potentially help you, like, just focus on deck control. All you have to do is focus on drawing your deck, and then the Swashbuckler will take care of your econ for you for free. That's a really appealing prospect, and if you can make that work, it's a really powerful effect. But it's hard to do is the problem. Like we said earlier,
Yeah,
it's just hard to get that chest.
it's very hard to do for sure.
Yeah. So +3 cards is nice though. So
Yeah, it's a Smithy variant.
Yeah.
You'll get a Smithy variant. It's draw. You'll buy draw. It's a village. You'll buy village. You just do it.
But the next one is a little more exciting. Treasurer.
Yeah, I rated it a 7, and I'm happy to announce that I loved the card to death. I wasn't convinced at the time it shouldn't be a 6. I just gave it a 7 because I'm like, I'm going to give it its time to shine. Yeah, it's, yay, it's going to suck. No. It's the 3rd best card in Renaissance.
It's quite good. I'm with you on it.
Really good.
I'm with you on it being 3rd best. I think we agree on the top 3 being Recruiter, Seer, and Treasurer. It's
Silk Merchant. Okay, maybe Treasure is 4th best because Silk Merchant has to be 2, and then Seer has to be 3, and then Treasure is 4. Okay, Treasure is 4.
Everything in the set is amazing.
Silk Merchant has to be number 2. Come on, I forgot about Silk Merchant.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
So it's 5 costs. You get 3 money when you play it. Then you choose one thing to do: trash a treasure from your hand, gain a treasure to your hand from the trash, or take the key. And the key is +$1 at the start of your turn. Yeah,
and it can be taken away.
It can be taken away. I underestimated how important that key is. I thought the key was something that you kind of just took when it was nice to take, but you could get away with ignoring it. But I've lost a lot of games because the key. I don't understand why the key seems so important, but it seems like it's always that dollar that I need.
Yeah, it's like buying Canal. It's like, yeah, well, it costs 7. It's Canal. You'll buy Canal. You'll just buy a Canal.
Yeah.
And you'll just take key. Treasure has a built-in Canal in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll buy it. It's $3. It gives you money. It trashes, and later it's convenient. Oh, it gets golds out of the trash. Oh, it's so flexible. It helps you get. Oh, it's just such a useful card.
That gain treasure to hand thing, you look at that and you're like, well, I'm never gonna do that. Like,
you will.
Other than like silvers and golds, but like, there are enough times when you're inclined to do coppers, just because like spiking that price point can be really powerful at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You can also pull coppers out of the trash to kill them to priest again. Like there's combos you can do. There's so
yeah.
many combos you could do with treasure. Like the gain to hand. You gain it to hand.
Yes. It's
Like
real good.
anytime you gain something to hand, your ears need to perk up because there's always something you can do.
Yeah. There's
Always.
some broken trick that you can exploit.
There's always a broken trick you can do.
Yeah. This is really good. Don't sleep on the key, or you'll lose games like I did.
Yeah, it's really funny because I specifically remember thinking, all right, the key is easily the worst thing about this, and it's not. The worst thing is pulling treasures out of the trash. But at the time, I'm like, yeah, the key is the worst thing. You'll trash when you trash. You'll just trash all the time, and then like last footnote was worried about like, oh, everyone's gonna fight over the key, and it's not gonna be fun. It's like he's like worried about that, and I'm like, no, don't worry about that. Everyone's gonna trash. No one's gonna fight over the key. And for the most part, I'm right. But I did understate how good the key is. The key is actually quite fantastic, and you're gonna take it quite often.
Yeah,
Like it's
definitely.
good. It's a lot better than it looks.
When
If you're a
you
yeah.
when you're in the greening phase, particularly, I think is when the key shines. When you're provincing,
Oh yeah.
that's like the keeping the key is like do or die.
Well,
So
and the thing is if you both draw treasure every turn, I don't think anybody the key. You just kind of fight over it,
yeah,
and it's worth it. It's worth it to do that just to deny your opponent the key because it's that good.
the key is a theory. It's a threat. But yeah.
Yeah.
So next up we have villain, which is the attack's other set, or the set's other attack. It's a 5 cost.
Other than Swashbuckler's art, which is offensive to the eye. Yeah.
Yes. I love Swashbuckler's art, by the way.
I cannot stand it. And now that we found out that Joshua Stewart is like copying art from like other places,
Oh, is he really?
now it makes sense. Yeah, he did. Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
No, I did
The
not.
second edition box of intrigue that he did. Like,
Oh,
there's like this.
this.
There's like this image out. It's like the knights and the princess look exactly the same. It's like scary. They look
Yeah.
exactly the same to these cosplaying people at some Renaissance, some like festival fair. And then you look at Swashbuckler and you think, oh my god, this is like some early 2000s cosplaying woman pretending to be a pirate. And now like the now
Some
the
people are into
weird
that.
this
Yeah.
this doesn't look human. Like it's like in the uncanny valley. Now that makes sense because he probably ripped that off from a stock photo somewhere. He probably did, to be honest, and that makes sense. That makes sense why the art is so freaking awful because it hits that uncanny valley. Now it makes sense. Like I was like, how could you draw something like that? But now he's like, oh, he's just a glorified tracer. So hey, now it makes sense to me at least.
I think she's pretty hot, but villain.
Okay, weirdo. Anyway, we're gonna talk about villain. Okay.
Villain is the I lovingly referred to villain for like the entire playtesting phase, and I still do it as Sum of Butcher. I refuse to call it villain. It's Sum of Butcher. So it's a 5 cost action attack, gives you +2 coffers, and then each other player with 5 or more cards in hand discards one that costs 2 or more, unless they don't have any. So yeah,
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people think this is a really weak card,
It is.
and it's not.
It is.
It's not an ultra strong attack, and like if there's another attack on the board, maybe I take that instead. But like this is not like an auto ignore. This is not like a Raider level attack.
Oh no! It's better than Raider.
Like +2 coffers alone, like that benefit is really powerful.
Yes.
Getting to smooth over your price points, like in a single gain money-ish game, like I strongly consider taking a villain even when there's another terminal competing, just because like it's a really powerful effect.
Yeah.
Attack is whatever.
I gave this a 4. I think I'll give it a 5 now. Like it's like I've had enough games where it's like, oh, it's just money and you trash down and you pick up a villain. Because villain's good in those decks, those single province decks, where you play a villain, then you buy a province, you'll never not buy a province again because you have a stockpile of tokens.
Right.
I've had enough of those games where I'm just like, yeah, okay, villain's
Yeah.
fine. It's a 5.
Yeah. I mean, I give it a 6, and I stick with that because on top of that, I mean, the attack is not nothing. Like later in the game, after people have trashed their states, but before they've started getting provinces. So we're talking about the mid game. It can be an annoyance. Like you can have to draw an extra card because you got villain attacked, and like that hurts sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
not as bad
All
as I
right.
think
Well,
it's
we're
getting
on.
credit for. So
Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, we're on to projects now.
yeah, this is where the set really dials it up to 11.
Oh, jeez, yeah. This is the Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah, this is so the first one is also maybe the craziest. Cathedral.
Yeah.
You pay 3 at the start of your turn. Trash a card from your hand. There is no turning it off. You can never escape the cathedral. This is your effect forever. At the start of your turn, trash a card.
Yes, and it's donate level.
It's extremely powerful. The I have had so many games where I open 5-2 and be sad and open Cathedral nothing.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, because
And you cry, but you have to.
yeah, you
It's so
cry.
sad, but you know what? Suck it up. If you don't do it, you lose.
The only time that I say you ignore Cathedral, think about it at least, is when there's a discard attack.
Yes,
Uh,
that is the one time. If there's like a goons or a militia, yeah, you might get swamped. Also, Wondering Winder made a video also about cathedral money, and for once, well, he's 2 of 3 now. The
yeah,
last two, yeah, balls out of the park. Don't listen to his advice on that video where he's like, "Oh, cathedral money is competitive and it's quite good." It's not. It's not very good at all. In fact, it's terrible. Don't do it. There's no such thing as cathedral money. It's not a thing. Don't do it.
so I mean,
I found that
there's
out the hard way, by the way. Like,
it's not that Cathedral's bad for money. It's that Cathedral's so good for other things that like you're just not playing money. I think
yeah, like if you're gonna do cathedral money,
it's like
you
saying
need
Goons money.
support.
It's like you're talking about Goons money.
No,
It's
it's
like
not. It's not like no. Goons money is a thing. Cathedral money is not a thing. It's not a thing. Like you can play Goons and money by itself. You can't play Cathedral money by itself. It is not a thing. It's never going to be a thing. It's just it doesn't exist.
I would need to run the.
Um,
I need to think about it. I don't know. I haven't even thought about Cathedral money personally.
well,
I
you
need to
have to
watch that
start.
video, but yeah.
Well, Cathedral money gets to like 4 provinces before you're never going to hit province again, and you have to blow up provinces to buy provinces. It's not going to happen. It's just not. It's too easy to buy duchies and more. It's like it's too easy to catch up. Like it's just never going to happen.
Interesting.
Like it gets really like you're going to have a deck of 10 cards for the entire game. And
Yeah.
then your deck starts having, all right, more provinces, more provinces. Oh, you have to kill a gold. Oh, you have to kill a silver. And then suddenly, oh,
Yeah.
your deck sucks.
Now,
It's not a thing. Don't do it.
I will say that
Don't do it.
uh, don't play vanilla big money with a lot of things, but also Cathedral. But
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen a lot of people skip Cathedral, and those are just usually free wins for me.
Yeah.
Like,
People, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's funny
yeah,
how I'm
like
always amused when people skip Cathedral. Like it's
they're
yeah,
scared of it, but like
they're scared of it. That's what it is.
but it's scarier to just lose because you're too slow. For
Yeah.
me, because like
Here's the
it's
thing,
not like
like,
you have a
all right.
choice. Yeah.
All right, it's turn 15. You have to blow up a gold, but you're ahead by 40 points. Do you
Yeah.
care?
You're
I don't
right,
care.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like Masquerade. Oh no, I have to pass a silver.
Yeah,
Well,
but the
all
game
right,
was over a
skip-
long time
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, skip Masquerade, and okay, well, you can pass Copper for the rest of the game, but you're so far behind. Like, it's just a thing you deal with. It's just part of the card.
It's really
And
funny.
the alternative is losing, so you have to do it. So, like, oh, you pass a silver. It just comes with, like, you really shouldn't feel that bad about it. Like, don't make it, like, oh, Cathedral kills a good card once in a while. Well, don't let that stop you from getting Cathedral, because the alternative is just losing. Like, you can't not get Cathedral most of the time.
So Cathedral blows up a gold at some point, but like Cathedral is the reason that you had that gold at that point in your deck because it sped you up enough that you had all those good cards to blow up in the first place, and drew them in your starting hand. I mean Oh, it's funny that you mentioned Goons earlier because
Yes,
I played a Goons Cathedral game,
I
and
did too, and I lost it because I didn't play Goons.
well, yeah, right. I mean,
I
I
played Jack and not Goons, and I lost, which is kind of weird.
wait. You went like Jack Money on a Goons board?
I went Jack money on a Cathedral board, and my opponent went for Goons Cathedral, and he won. I
Well,
don't know if I misplayed it that bad or what, but like that's something worth looking into, I think. Well, here's the thing: like you're gonna start with 2 card hands with Cathedral in a discard attack. So like
that's true.
even with Jack, it's like, yeah, do you really want to play that? Like, yeah, and then Goons scores VP
Yeah,
and you
it's
could buy coppers to kill with the Goons. And
and
I
not
think
feel
if I
bad
had
about
gotten
it
Goon,
because you need the
yeah,
Cathedral food. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not convinced it wasn't correct to go for Jack there, but like it's something I still have to do research on. I still have to kind of play it out a couple more times, but it was a surprising result for me at least.
Yeah,
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I mean, the Goons Cathedral thing is really weird to think about because, like we said, that the discard attacks maybe steer you away from Cathedral, but then you talk about something like Goons where it's so important to start getting ahead because you start to snowball. So it's like darned if you do, darned if you don't. Like if I need to get Cathedral on this board for the speed boost, but then I'm gonna be Goons while I have a Cathedral, and it's like, well, I hope it works. I better end this game really quickly. I mean, you usually can, but it just that's the kind of game that makes you feel alive. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Cathedral for sure makes you feel like, yeah, I still have a pulse. Yeah.
yep. Somehow,
All right, we're on to Citygate.
yeah.
Card that
Citygate.
everyone hates, but I like. I like Citygate quite a bit.
I like it a lot too.
Wandering Winder likes it too. And by the way, he's 3 of 4 now. So, um,
Yeah, he
yeah, we're,
did
we're keeping tally.
he did a video on why opening with Citygate tends to be so good,
It
um,
is.
and he goes into the math of it and explains it more specifically. But suffice it to say, it's quite good. It's a 3 cost project. At the start of your turn, +1 card, then put a card on top of your deck.
Now you don't buy it turn 1. I typically like to buy it turn 2, if I can.
Yeah,
Even with like a 4, like even with like a 3/4, I'm like, oh, I don't get a 4 cost. Maybe I won't buy Citygate, but maybe I will. I like the smoothing aspect of it. Now, mind you, it gets a lot worse as the game goes on, but it makes up for it in the early game, and more than makes up for it in the early game. So,
it lets you distribute your
oh,
money.
yeah. So it's like, well, what do you want? You want a silver, which is, or do you want a Citygate, which is not a silver? And well, silver is your enemy, so
Yeah,
you'll get the Citygate.
yeah, for sure. And like the Citygate is also, I mean, it's helping you hit 5 the way, like it's doing, if you, oh, I think the analysis that he did was you open Citygate silver, and then he went into like the things that you're guaranteed and what have you. But like you open Citygate whatever, and you're hitting 5 or possibly 6 or whatever. The point is you get to distribute your money, and that's huge early on. Later on, it does get worse, but it also helps you have more stop cards in your deck without. It makes it a little less likely for you to dud, right? You mentioned that in your original notes, where like
Yes.
it protects you from duds because you're more likely to
Yes,
find one of
it
those draw
smooths you out.
cards. Yeah,
It smooths you out.
yeah. So,
Smoothing is good. It's coffers smooth. That's a nice thing about coffers.
and
Another good thing about coffers is stockpiling. If you can stockpile it, this is completely random off topic. I
oh,
wanted
you're
to
fine.
mention this at some point, but another dangerous thing about coffers. Remember that one time you played and your opponent went for Mass Baker and you're like, "Ha, what an idiot!" 50 tokens and then he just won.
Yeah,
That shouldn't work, but
it
if you
does.
mass up that many tokens, it can work. So like it's a real thing to mass up tokens just to threaten, like the threat. So if you have $2 to spend, you're like, oh, I want this gold or I want this province. It's not worth it to spend 6 coffers. It's just not. Smooth it out. Buy a silver. Spend 1 coffer.
Sure.
You want to be really stingy with your coffers because you want to keep them as threats. So like, oh, there's 3 provinces left. Okay, no. Let's do one better. There's 2 provinces left. You have 7 coffers. Your opponent goes, I can take a 2-point lead if I buy this province. Oh, he's got 7 coffers. He's never going to dud again. Well, I'm going to buy duchy. You buy province, and then it's just over. Like, the threat is just too much. Like, you're not going to win.
And that
So,
threat scales up with extra buys. Like
yes.
to your point there, if you have if you have extra buys on your turn, then having 8 coffers is basically the same as having a province, except you don't have this province in your deck. You have
Yeah, so spending, like... So, yeah, you're saving up these tokens, and again, like... Well, like, let's say you're butchering, like, an estate into a silver. Well, I can spend 3 more coffers and turn it into a gold or something, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that, ever. Like, you're killing yourself doing that. Don't turn estate into province.
Right.
It's not flexible. It's just bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you kill your stockpile threat by doing that.
I
And I cannot overstate how much more expensive doing that is.
have played Butcher to turn estate into Butcher, I
Yeah,
spent
that's
coffers
fine.
to do that.
Fine. But you'll do it. It, sure.
The key there, the reason I did that is because the butchers were gonna get me more coffers in the long run. Anyway,
yeah, but you're not killing copper in a province unless you have an immediate win.
Right.
Like, you're just not gonna do that. Don't do that. Anyway, we're completely... Speaking of coffers, hey.
Oh yeah, the next one is Pageant. It's a 3 cost. At the end of your buy phase, you can pay a coin to get a coffer. I think this is probably...
You gave it a 3. You gave it a 3, and I don't know why. I gave it a 5, and I don't know why. I'm giving it a 7 or an 8 now. I highly value this. I think I highly value this, people. The flexibility is super nice. I often open Pageant. I'm often like, I have a 4-3. I'll just buy a Pageant, and then I'll get my 4 anyway. And then for the rest of the game, it's just like, yeah, I have my stockpile threat, or I smooth out. I can just decide what to do. It's just super flexible. It's great. It's just nice to have like 2 or 3 coffers on hand at all times. It's great. It's fantastic, and you often overpay for things. Like, you have $7. Okay, I'll get a 5 cost. Well, it's nice to have a token for that. So
that's
it
true,
works.
but like,
it really smooths out.
If you don't find yourself overpaying for things, then like, I mean, obviously.
Well, you don't have to buy anything. That's like,
yeah, you don't have to.
You have $3. You don't want a silver. Okay, well, don't buy anything. Take your token and run to the next turn. I do that all the time. I don't want silver. Silver's bad. Like, silver's a bad card. You don't have to buy it. Like, you don't have to buy cards every turn.
That's true. That's true. You don't, and that's a good point. And like, I think Renaissance is going to be good at teaching players that lesson, that like, you put cards in your deck because you have like a plan for them or a reason. Like, I will say, buying silver just because it was the only thing you could buy, just buying silver for no reason, that's bad. Like, you definitely don't buy silver just cause you can afford it.
Now, all that being said, you might not downgrade your 5 cost buy into a 4 cost buy just because you're getting a token. You have to be smart about it. You have to make that decision. You have to have the mental awareness to make that decision. It could be the right call. It might not be. You have to make that call on the field. So
definitely,
it's flexible. But I will tell you, I use Pageant all the time. I win with Pageant all the time. I buy it like almost every time it's on the board, and I buy it early because the earlier you buy it, the more use you're going to get out of it.
And I could go up to a 4 with it, but like, I do think it's the weakest project.
Not by a long shot.
Well,
not by a
long
long
shot.
I
If there are some
Exploration. I think Exploration's weaker than Pageant, honestly.
Exploration.
I mean, I like Exploration. Fair. I have Fair pretty low rated. It's a buy. A lot of boards have buy. Capitalism's pretty weak. I mean, it's not as weak as Pageant. Come on. Guildhall, I think I have weaker than Pageant for sure.
Oh, Guildhall, I am interested in talking about. That one is weird. That one's hard to talk about.
Yeah, but I think it's worse. By and far, it's much worse than Pageant. There's some combos where it's like, woo! But like, for the most part, you're just like, yeah, it sucks. I don't like it. Anyway, we're on to sewers now, I'm assuming. Pageant, again, 7. I recommend buying it often. If you open 4-3, like, seriously consider opening Pageant and just opening with the token. You don't have to spend the token. You can
Yeah.
hold on to it. Hold on to it. It helps you hit 5. And you spend it on a $4 hand. You get a 5. Oh, next turn you have your silver. You hit 5 again. You hit double 5. Boom. GG. Like it's just it offers so much flexibility. It's a fantastic opener. You're not
You're
always
kind of
gonna buy.
selling. You're selling me on it. Actually, I think I
Yeah.
need to rate it a little higher now.
Well, just play around with it. It's a very tactical. It's deceptively tactical. Like, all right, the number one indicator of a good card is if you see Steph buying it all the time. And every time I watch Steph, I always see him open it. So like, I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this, and I did it, and I started winning more games. So I don't know.
All right. Yeah.
Copy Steph.
I'll give this I'll give it another look because
Okay.
maybe I am undervaluing Pageant.
I might be overvaluing it, but I really like the card.
All
I think it's
right.
quite tactical.
Yeah.
All right, so
So
we're on to sewers.
sewers, we both agree this one's great. Sewers is whenever you trash a card other than with sewers, trash a card
Yes.
from your hand. Woo! This is so good. I mean,
I
the
gave it
fact.
8. It's either great or it's awful, and it's usually great. So.
Yeah, I mean the fact that it's optional is fantastic. This makes
Mm-hmm.
so many. Oh, sorry, real quick before I forget.
Sewer Steward opening.
Yeah, but Citygate, real quick, really
Yes.
good with Doctor. Anyway, moving
Oh,
on.
nice,
So,
nice, nice.
um,
Yeah, sewers, open sewers steward. It's like
yeah,
opening double steward. Boom.
yeah, it is. Because you weren't really usually when you have that turn where you're trashing 2 cards with Steward, you weren't gonna like buy anything anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so might
it's
as well trash.
you might as well trash those
Although
two
if
if you
you
can.
bought a pageant instead and oh, it trashed and I have a copper, you just play it and then you pass and you get a copper. You get a coffer for free.
I mean, Sewers
That's why
is
pageant's nice with trashers too. Like I would open pageant steward. That's nice. It's a nice open.
Sewers
Yeah.
it is remarkable in that there's always like some kind of I think of like a Dominion board as like a Tetris array, and like these different pieces are different shaped and they're slotting in, and they're doing different things based on what the board needs, what kinds of holes it has in it. So Sewers is remarkable in that it kind of changes shape to fit whatever hole it needs to fit into as far as trashing goes. Like it helps you if there's no copper trashing, or it trashes whatever can't be trashed normally. Like if bonfire is the only trashing, it trashes your estates. If the trashing's really slow, it speeds it up. It's just, I mean, I can't imagine any board where I want to trash and I don't get sewers to help that along, other than like maybe donate or chapel.
Right. Um. Oh, does donate sewers work with like tomb and fortress? Like you get to trash the fortresses twice. That'd be pretty insane.
I
I
have
just thought about it. It
no
probably works because you
idea.
trash with donate and then you get to trash again. Donate
And
goes and then fortress goes to your hand and you trash it again. Yeah, that should work.
that should work, shouldn't it? That's really weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Could
So it's like
you?
already donate fortress is a massive thing with tomb. So maybe with sewers it's even more insane.
So I'm
Eh,
wondering about this deck that like just has 4 sewers, four or 5 sewers. Oh wait, no, it has to pay off the debt somehow. I
yeah.
was thinking like you just donate every turn and get 5 to 10 points every turn, but no,
Yeah,
you have to
you
pay
have
for your
enough.
donate.
You have enough economy to pay off your debt. It's fine. That's trivial. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, sewers is quite good. It, of course, with cards you like feast. If you open like feast sewers, remember feast? Remember
Yeah,
feast?
I
It
do
used to be
remember
a card.
feast. Yeah,
You play card. You play feast. Oh, it trashes. It trashes itself. Oh, that's when you can trash with sewers. Like things like that. Oh, pixie. When you pop
yeah,
it for a boon, you're trashing it. Boom, pillage. You trash it. Oh, hey. So like it trashes things you don't immediately assume works, and that's the little tricky thing about sewer. So you gotta like look at it and look at all the cards and be like, okay, what trashes,
yeah,
and
for
then you
real.
make that yeah, and then you
Or
can
like
use that as an
opponent's
unconventional.
attacks.
Yeah, so you can use that as an unconventional trasher. By the way, feast should not have been removed. Boo-hoo. I like feast actually.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Like you think about the opponent buys Swindler and you buy Sewers, and like who's coming out ahead on that exchange. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
say. Um,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think I'd open Feast a lot more today, actually. Like, back in the day, I was like, there was always that debate where it's like, oh, it's Feast or Silver. Like, they both do the same thing. And now I hate Silver because Silver's bad, so I probably would get Feast quite often.
I wonder how often I'd
Anyway,
get Feast if it still existed. That's an interesting question.
pretty often.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially today.
it's a
Maybe
guaranteed
back,
fiver. Yeah.
maybe back earlier. It's like, okay, maybe it's not so clear cut
When the fives
because
were mediocre.
Dominion, the fives weren't as good. You kind of had to play more money-ish, but now it's like you kind of question that too because back then the meta was a lot worse. People were so much worse at building engines that it was just kind of funny. So, like, I think if we took today's player and we went back in time and we played with Feast, I almost wonder if Feast would not have gotten removed because everyone would have been like, "Oh, Feast is actually kind of pretty nice."
I actually really
Um,
wonder about that in
yeah,
multiple aspects. Like if you take
it's,
today's really good Dominion players and put them back in time, like because obviously we're better than we used to be, but
I
also the
think I could beat Mick Seanock from 5 years ago. I think I could. I think most people.
maybe, yeah,
Maybe not most people, but I think the top players could beat Mick or Steph from like 5 years ago easily.
yeah.
Easily,
I
I
mean,
think.
I but Wandering Winter also made a really good point in our the hot takes video we did that like yes, people have gotten better, but also the card pool, like you said, is just really different than it
Oh
used to
yeah,
be. So
absolutely.
like I do wonder like would the top players today maybe even have a disadvantage going back because like they're not used to playing money. um, so
Oh, wandering winder, always talking about money.
well
Anyway, we better talk about Star Chart.
yeah, Star
Okay.
Chart. Oh my God, Star Chart is a 3 cost, and it says when you shuffle, you get to pick one of the cards that goes on top.
Yeah, it's a 10.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
I never not buy Star Chart. Yeah, it's a 10.
yeah. You don't not buy Star Chart.
Yeah.
I the number of times when I don't buy it in as one of my first two buys are pretty rare, and as one of my first four buys, it's like almost
Yeah.
non-existent. Like I don't.
Now, I will say, if you have God draws, if you open like Chapel Star Chart, all right, this is the quintessential example. I played a game against Akuchi, I believe, where I opened Star Chart Chapel, and he opened Chapel Silver. He never bought Star Chart, and he got the godliest draws. He drew Chapel right on top. He, all right, in that case, yeah, if you get supremely lucky, yeah, you'll have an edge over Star Chart because I blew a buy on a Star Chart instead of Silver. But I'm doing that to guarantee that I top deck my Chapel every shuffle. If you top
Yeah.
deck Chapel every shuffle and you're a Silver up, yeah, you'll win that game. You'll just win. Sorry, sucks to suck. But you're not going to take that chance, and on average, you're going to open Star Chart Chapel anyway. But because come on,
I
like,
mean, this Star
but
Chart
it can
does.
happen. It can happen. You can get fucked over, but it's rare and it's not optimal to ignore Star Chart. But it can
Definitely
happen.
not.
So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind that you can get fucked over. It doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. Is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. You kind of have to weigh it in your mind.
That's very true, and that's a really good point about a lot of Dominion, is that results-oriented play, where you judge how good your decision was by how well it worked out, is sometimes dangerous because, like, the game has variance and luck, and so, like, you have to always be apprised of that when you are trying to evaluate how good your decision was. But Star Chart
Yeah,
is,
always assume you did something wrong, but sometimes you didn't.
yeah,
Sometimes you just got screwed. Yeah, that
yeah,
happens. It happens.
and it's important
It
to
really does.
recognize it so that you don't try to course correct a problem that doesn't exist and end up like causing a new problem in your play just
Yeah,
because yeah
yeah,
uh, the star chart, it does different things at like different phases of the game, and they're all really good. Like at the beginning of the
yeah.
game you get to choose one card and say, okay, you're never missing the shuffle. You hear me? You're just not, and that's great.
Yes.
um, Later on in the game, when you are drawing your deck, or maybe drawing through it more than once, or like causing reshuffles, you get to like selectively cherry pick from your discard pile
Hmm.
once you're to that point,
Oh,
and
I'm
like
drawing cards
that's
dead. Let me draw this. let me just guarantee draw the silver instead of a village. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
and
Or even a victory card. Hey, I want to draw this. I have enough money. Trigger this. Let's just draw the victory card.
the best part of that is that you caused that shuffle that had your villages or draw cards in there, and you took the not one of those, and then you just left those villages on top for next turn. So like that's you get to manipulate your shuffle that way and make next turn good
Yeah.
too.
Star Chart is just nuts. It's a nuts card. It's fantastic. Maybe in the future I'll rate it from 10 to 9 because you got lucky with the chapel and silver and like maybe that'll be more common than I'm thinking. But for now it's a 10. I could see it drop to a 9, but realistically I think it's just going to be a 10 for the foreseeable future and maybe forever. It's just so good.
Yeah, I can't.
If you're not opening Star Chart, you'd better get it by the end of the second shuffle. Like you'd better get it by the end of the next shuffle, or else you're done. Because
Yeah.
all right,
I mean,
it's just one of the rules of Dominion. It's like if you really want a card, it's gonna. Sorry,
the only
it's like it's up there. It's up there with the Settlers rule. If you get Settlers, there's a magnet that pulls it to the top of the shuffle every time.
Right.
Like
definitely.
you'll never like I laugh because like I keep track of this and. I open Settlers and I'm just shocked at how many times I just top deck Settlers. Just every time.
It's impossible.
Like, really?
Not to.
Yeah, it's just there's just a magnet inside of Settlers that just makes it stick to the top. Just every time.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
And then you passage it,
next,
and then somehow
next
it's
card.
still at the top. Well, yeah, the next up we have Exploration, and Exploration is at the end of your buy phase if you didn't buy any cards, plus coffers and plus villager.
Yes.
It's easy.
It used to be 2 coffers and 2 villagers. And
That
apparently that
sounds
was busted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then I played with Exploration. And I've been playing with it, and I'm now happy to say that yes, it would have been absolutely busted. Because I'm happy with buying nothing and getting a coffer in a village quite a decent amount of the time. In fact, the turn you buy Exploration, if you open it, you get a coffer and a villager just immediately. So you get to play with those immediately. So that's a nice advantage.
I do that a lot.
All right, well, you're going to open silver. Want to open silver. Maybe we'll open Exploration silver. I don't know. You might not do that. It depends on the board, of course. But, like, you might skip turns just to get a village. You might skip turns just to get a coffer. Oh, okay. It's turn 5. Well, I got $2. I could buy a Pearl Diver, which, by the way, Pearl Diver is a fine card, but I think I'd rather have a villager and a coffer. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure.
I gave it a 5. I think I'd bump it up to a 6, but maybe I should keep it at 5.
Well, the big thing about Exploration is that it only disqualifies you from the tokens if you buy something. So if you gain something some other way, like with Artificer or something, alms, what have you, you still get the tokens, and that's really what you're aiming for, I think. But I mean, there are a lot of times when I buy it and I only ever end up using it once, which is the turn I buy it, where I got the coffer and villager, and I never use it again. And I don't actually think it's a mistake in that case. Yeah, because like it helps you hit 5 really easily. Having a coffer means that with your 4 to 5 card hand, with your 5 card hand means that hitting 5 is really easy, and you didn't have to put a stop card in your deck to do it. We're assuming that you don't want the silver for some reason, and sometimes you don't. So. Or maybe you have it and the silver and you get to hit double 5s because you opened with this Exploration. And so, like, there's a lot of the time when even if you only ever use it once, it's worth buying.
Yeah. Oh, hey, fair. Apparently people thought that money improved under fair.
Okay. We're going to pretend I never said that. But, fair
Yeah. Oh, you're the one who said that. That's why I reacted. I'm like, I don't remember that. Oh, it's because you said it.
Yeah, fair is a project. Yeah. It costs 4, and it gives you plus buy at the start of your turn. When I read this, I thought like, oh man, money doesn't have to settle for single province anymore because it doesn't have to put a plus buy card in it and draw the plus
spoiler.
Buy card.
Yes, it does.
Spoiler: it doesn't work. Yeah,
It doesn't work.
yeah.
No.
This doesn't make
Yeah,
a big
fair
difference
is
there.
just, hey, remember that time you bought Ruin Market? You can buy a Prince Ruin Market for $4. You like
Yeah,
that? Yeah, you probably do. Oh, by the way, you don't have to buy it before you need buy. Don't buy it before you need buy. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Because you,
it's plus buy. Who gives a crap? Next one.
yeah,
I gave it a
sure.
7. I'm gonna give it a 5 now. It's just too much buy on boards. Who cares?
I mean, like I'm sticking with 7, but like it's also just like you'll know when you want this. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious. There's no trick to fair.
yeah.
Um,
Now I will say,
okay.
you have $6. You have 6 money in economy. Buy your gold first, then buy your fair. Don't buy fair and then gold. That's like inefficient. It's like slightly
Yeah.
worse.
I
Is it?
mean,
It's like the same, isn't it?
yeah. It doesn't. It ends up not mattering very
It
much,
ends up
but
not really
yeah.
mattering. Yeah.
The
But
big
look for
deal.
ways to optimize a little bit if you can.
Well, the big deal with these projects, no matter what effect that they're providing, is the same lessons we took away from the events. Is that these effects are different. You play to them differently when they don't have to go in your deck and then be drawn. When you
Yes.
can access these on demand, when they're on tap, so to speak, you just. I mean, it's usually better, but it's really just different.
Right.
So the next one is Silos, which is a 4, and it says at the start of your turn, discard any number of coppers, reveal them to show that you discarded coppers, and then draw that many cards. So you get to cellar your coppers at the beginning of each turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is really powerful, and I underrated it quite a bit.
Yes, you did. You gave it a 4.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. So my reasoning for that was, again, I was just thinking about in the open, right? I wasn't even thinking long term. I was saying
Yeah.
like
I don't
the
open silos that often.
yeah,
I will, but not often.
yeah, like if you have something you need to cycle to, like your Masquerade or your Traveler or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like I was thinking like Copper's the best card in your deck at the beginning of the game. I buy this early and it hamstrings my economy, and it does. But like the cycling is just worth it, and throughout the rest of the
Yeah.
game, it's a really good effect to have.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. It's a 7. Like I'll pair it with, like, oh hey, I have a steward and a silos. Yeah, I might open that. Cycle through. Be careful. Know what's in your deck. Know how much you need. Know what you need. Know what's coming up.
Yes.
Plan. Don't be stupid. Don't
Yeah.
just discard all your coppers for no reason. Like you, it's often right to do that, but don't just do that. Think
Don't
about it. Think
don't
about what
do it
you're
on
doing.
principle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just think about what you're doing. Think about what you want to do. Plan ahead.
Don't cause a don't
That's
cause a stupid
yeah,
shuffle while you have your buys in your hand.
yeah. Don't, because look, you trigger a shuffle when you're tossing your silo. Oh, you just tossed 8 coppers back in your deck. Yeah, you can silo them, but not all of them, and you're gonna draw some of them. So be careful.
Yeah. Right.
Um, if you have to trigger a shuffle, you have to trigger a shuffle. But for God's sakes, know what you're doing. Like, think
Yeah.
about it. Don't just do it. Don't just discard because you have to or you want to. If you already have 5 in hand, there's nothing important, and you don't really have a reason to go plot along because there's good cards coming ahead, and you're satisfied to buy 5. You just do it. Just buy 5. You don't have to discard.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes you want that 5 and you want to play it as fast as possible, so you will toss the numbers and you will buy
Yeah.
that 5, and
Definitely.
then
That
yeah. So
happens.
you got a plan. That is basically what I'm saying with Silos.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
and Sinister Plot. We're gonna talk about Sinister Plot.
All
Oh,
right.
jeez.
So Sinister Plot is a forecast at the start of your turn. If you have a Sinister Plot at the start of your turn, remove your tokens from there to draw some cards based on how many were there, or put a token there. So it either charges up by 1, or you cash in and draw cards based on how many turns you've had to charge it up. And it keeps
Yes.
going every turn. So like you use it once, and then the next turn you put tokens on it again, and it keeps going.
Yes.
Yeah,
You should watch the Wandering Winder video on Sinister Plot.
definitely.
That 4 or 5, by the way. Um, yeah, it's actually a very good video. In fact, he introduced me to the concept of opening Sinister Plot, which is something I almost always do now, which is pretty crazy. I
Yeah.
gave it an 8. I might give it a 9 now. And my caption I put is, imagine never dudding again. Now, that might be an overreaction, but it's not by much.
Sure.
And I think a nice way to put it is, like, if you're kind of at the point where, like, you're not saving tokens, you're just drawing every other turn, you just bought a caravan. Like, at worst, it's a caravan.
It's like half
And
a
at best,
caravan, right?
no, it's just a full-on caravan because it
Oh,
activates
every other
every turn.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, every other
Gotcha.
turn. It's just the caravan.
Okay.
That's what it is at worst.
Yeah,
Um,
right. And that's
and at
assuming that
best, you
you're
can save it up and then, like, blow it up Madman style. Hey, remember those Madman turns? You can do that with Sinister Plot. It's insane. So yeah, watch Wandering Winder's video on Sinister Plot. It's pretty nuts. It's like a near guaranteed way to hit 5, if not guaranteed. I don't remember the specific. It is guaranteed, actually. If you open Sinister Plot on turn 1, it's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think he also implies that you get a silver with it, but
Yeah, just with silver. If you buy a silver and you buy Sinister Plot turn 1, you take the token, and then you look at your hand, and based on that hand, you know what your next 6 cards are, so you'll either draw or you won't. And then you know. You just know. Actually, no, you're guaranteed. You have to draw with the token on turn 3. You have to. And then turn 4 is, and then I don't remember that. You have to watch it. I would know if it was in. But anyway, yeah,
point
it's
is, open
really
Sinister Plot. It's good.
It's really good to open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of those cards where you think, wow, it's not obvious at all to open it, but I've been consistently shocked at how many people do it, and I think it's because they watched the Wandering Winder video.
Yeah.
I think he ruined it for me. I'm like, every time Sinister Plot's on the board, I'm like licking my chops. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna win for free, and then everyone opens it. I'm like, no!
No!
How does everyone know this?
Why do you guys get to watch YouTube videos too?
Yeah, I was like really shocked at how many people seem to know this and how it caught on so quickly. It was really strange.
Yeah.
Especially since these same people will not open Cathedral. It's like really weird. It's like bizarre. It's like they're really good at like one little thing and then another thing they're just terrible. It's really weird.
I think it's the psychology of it, because Sinister Plot gives you either a strict benefit or something that's optional, whereas the Cathedral is giving you a commitment every turn to this thing. So, like, I think it's not necessarily them evaluating the power level so much as them just not willing to commit to having to sacrifice something every turn.
Maybe.
There's
watch the video. I actually if you're gonna watch any video, that one's pretty good.
It's also really good for like Megaturn decks. Just because like you can be saving it up and then draw when you're gonna win. So, yeah.
I saw a game Freaky played against RTT where Sinister Plot was the only draw on the board.
Oh yeah.
And the correct play was to not activate it until the turn you win.
Interesting. Was it like Horn of Plenty or something?
There was no trashing. There might have been Horn. It was either Horn or like Inventor, but there was like plenty of villages. There was plenty. Oh, it was Horn. Yeah, it was Horn.
Yeah.
There was Horn. There's no trashing, but there's like plenty of this. There's plenty of villages. There's this. There's that. There's stuff to play. But what happened was Freaky. He did the Sinister Plot thing on turn 3 to guarantee his 5. Yeah. And that turned out, that fucked him. Because he didn't have enough draw. And RTT got to the draw point first. And then he blew up his deck, and he got like 6 provinces, and then it's like, okay, Freaky, your move.
Yeah,
you go.
And what do you do?
And then he blows up his deck, and it's like, yeah, what can you do? You lose. Because he didn't get 6 provinces. So, be careful. You can get burned. It's not automatic, but it's pretty close to automatic. So, yeah, you probably won't get burned. But you might. It did happen once. It happened once where it was the only draw on the board, and it was like a mega turn. And that, I can't believe I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. Anyway,
yeah, you got it, man. That's I think one of the best cases for Sinister Plot. I mean, and not saying that like the other cases aren't good. It's just it shines that much brighter when there's mega turn draw. So next up, Academy is a 5-cost project. We're into the 5-cost ones now. Whenever you gave an action +1 villager, man, I underestimated
it's great, by the way.
How many villagers this hands out.
Hands out, it gives them out like candy.
It's so many villagers. Like, And
I
you
gave it
just,
a 7, and I'm giving it an 8 or a 9, and I'm not sure which yet.
man,
So it's
it
pretty
makes
good.
you need to buy so fewer villages when this is there, just because like you're as you're loading up with terminals, you're building in the support to play the terminals at least temporarily.
Yes. And you think, oh, I'm buying a 5 on something that does nothing, and it hits you. It's like, ugh. And you feel like you hadn't eaten for a day. Oh wow, I lost the ability to gain a card. I'm gonna fall behind and I'm gonna lose. Doesn't
Oh
happen. Doesn't
no,
happen.
because skipping, quote unquote, like skipping villages, building your deck out of order, so to speak, getting
Now,
the
you won't
terminal
buy it on
together.
your first 5. You won't, but you will buy it relatively early.
You could
You
buy it
have to
on your first
time it.
five. It's not impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, you might,
Yeah,
but
but
it
yeah, I mean,
depends.
I
You make
agree.
that call, but it's not as gut wrenching as you think it is.
Yeah,
So,
so this is a really powerful village unto itself. Yeah, you're gonna get
yeah.
this a lot of the time. Uh, Speaking of powerful villages, question mark, capitalism.
No.
I don't. So like, I am so confused about how to talk about capitalism anymore. Um, my opinions on it have shifted so violently, and for good reason. Like
Well, there's
capitalism,
boards where it sucks, and then there's boards where it has pirate ship, and then you cry. And then there's boards where there's Forger and it's great. There are cards where they're really good with capitalism. Forger is one of them. Definitely pirate ship. If there's pirate ship and capitalism on the board, hey, remember all those times where remember your times as a noob where you bought pirate ship all the time? Yeah, bring those back to memory, and
yeah,
yeah, because you're going to be buying pirate ship on those boards.
Revenge of the Pirate Ship.
Yeah, I didn't think so at first. My first board with pirate ship capitalism, it had Haggler on it,
Yeah,
and my opponent kept skipping the Haggler to pirate ship. He didn't buy capitalism yet, so he kept skipping it. I'm just like, ah. So,
eventually it
and
just
then he bought,
dies.
yeah, and then he bought capitalism, and that got to the point where he stopped buying pirate ships and he stopped attacking, but I kept doing it, and then that's why I won. But he had me on the ropes, so like
Yeah,
you
that's
can't ignore
crazy.
it. You can't ignore it. It's finally pirate ship is no longer like it's super good now. Like
Right,
on
it's got its
capitalism
day.
boards,
It has
it's
its day.
super
Well,
good. It's scary.
and other things do too. I mean, capitalism says that during your turns, any actions that have plus coin in their text are also treasures. So you can play them either during your action phase or during your treasure phase. Not all actions are good to play in your buy phase, but that tends not to be a huge problem with capitalism as it is with some of the others. Um, yeah, it's weird because like this looks like one of those absurd game breaking, game warping cards like
Yeah,
Donate and Champion are, but like
it's a 7.
yeah, yeah, it's a
I gave it an
seven.
8. You gave it a 9. But come on, it's a 7. There's too many boards where it's like,
It
oh,
doesn't do anything.
I get to play conspirator. Oh boy, I get to play
Duchess,
Flagbearer.
yeah,
I
my
get to play
Duchess is
Flagbearer. Yeah, I get to play Duchess. It's like, yeah, it has its moments. You'll buy it, but like, I'm not as excited about it as I initially thought I.
yeah. There are boards where it's insane, where it's like it's like Champion basically, and then there are
Yeah,
boards where it does almost nothing. So yeah.
yeah.
All right, so moving on to Fleet.
Ooh, I gave
Fleet.
this a 10, but I think I'm gonna have to walk that one back and give it an 8 or a 9.
Man, so Fleet is a 5 cost that says you get an extra turn after the game ends. Um, which sounds amazing, and then you realize like usually the province, well, depends on what kind of game it was, but
Yeah,
like the provinces are often gone at that point. So like you're
yeah.
probably
So
getting a
yeah,
duchy, yeah.
yeah. So like, so at worst, it's usually a delayed duchy.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes it's insane. Sometimes it's not so insane. Sometimes you can do tactical stuff where, all right, I'm buying fleet this turn. I'm gonna threaten to end the game, so you have to buy fleet or else.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
And if he doesn't, and like he might be slightly ahead, but oh shoot, now I have to stop and buy fleet. Like because if I end the game, I can't win because he's gonna win. Like that's kind of overblown a bit, but it certainly does exist. It has happened. Fleet's I hate fleet. Like I hate it. Like because
Really?
like you can win a game by you could win. You're like, oh, nice, nice, and then you have a slightly shitty turn after the game ends, and then the guy just kicks off, and then he like wins by a point despite
That
being behind. It's like
that's not
fuck you,
that's not Fleet's
fuck
fault
you.
though. That could have happened the
That
turn
is no,
before.
that's
That could
that's
have happened,
Fleet's.
but
That's Fleet's fault.
that could have happened the
It's
turn
like
before, and then you would have just dudded for the loss.
it's like Frankenstein's monster. It's like unholy to mess with the game end. It's like, all right, the game is ended. It's over. Don't raise that corpse back to life, please.
We're over.
Only bad things can happen. I can lose a game that I should have won. Thanks, Donald. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for Fleet. Fleet, more like get out of my house and walk on the street. I don't know. Yeah, Fleet's pretty good.
Yeah, so like I think that you usually buy it instead of your first province. Like that's usually when I find the time to do it. I mean, it depends, right? Like
I buy Fleet when I start feeling okay. This game's getting close to ending, and I don't buy it before then.
well,
Because
if there's a pile out threat, right, then Fleet is really good. Like because it's like insurance, right?
But I
It's
don't
like,
buy it before my first province. Come on, I just buy it like
yeah.
no, I buy it like okay. The game's probably going to end in the next couple turns. I want some insurance. I want some security. Now I'll buy Fleet. I would buy Province before Fleet, and I would laugh at you for buying Fleet so early because it seems wrong to me. But maybe it's not. I don't know.
I think like we're coming out around to the same. So it depends on a lot too. I mean, the advantage of delaying Fleet is that the Fleet is a little stronger when the provinces don't deplete, obviously, when the game ends some other way. So if you have
there's
more
also,
information,
you hit 8 and you're spending 5.
yeah,
and I hit 8, and then later I hit 5, and then I just get Fleet like I was going to anyway.
sure.
Okay, well, you just wasted the turn. Way to go. Like I don't know. I you kind of have to watch it. You have to be careful, definitely. I'm still not sure on what the timing is to get Fleet, but I feel like it's pretty late.
Yeah, and the how often you get the Fleet is also really weird, right? It's hard to evaluate it, and there are times I think when you skip it and feel comfortable doing so, but man, it's just weird because like especially you could have like VP token generators too that make the math even weirder. And, so yeah. Next up we have Guildhall. And that is a 5-cost project that says whenever you gain a treasure, +1 coffers. My initial read on Guildhall was that it is. I gave it either a 5 or an 8. I gave it 2 ratings, and I said that it's really good for money and kind of mediocre for other things. And I stand by that assessment. What I failed. Well, no,
I do not stand by that assessment.
What would you?
I think it's better. It's better for engines, just like everything else. It's the usual stuff, but like
really, I don't think so. Because like the
okay, ignore
treasure
the
flood
stuff. Ignore the bag. Ignore that. Just normal naked money.
Yeah,
you're really telling me Guildhall is better than in an engine? Really?
I think that the Guildhall is doing more for the money deck because it's getting more treasures, and the money deck cares more about smoothing than a deck
one at a time. The engine, on the other hand, can just sit pretty, build up. Oh, I'll get a Guildhall. Now I'll gain like 80 treasures with my Ironworks, and then I can just triple and win.
Then this deck has 80 treasures in it. Like, did it want those?
Yeah, engines take treasures all the time. What are you talking about?
I mean, like, so the thing is that the money deck is getting so much out of the coffers by smoothing price points.
So is the engine.
But if a deck is drawing itself, it doesn't really care about smoothing.
What?
Like a deck that's drawing itself doesn't even like smoothing isn't even like a thing. It's delivering all of its payload every turn.
I'm rapidly blinking right now. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, smoothing is being able to distribute the money that the payload that you have
between turns.
But like that's But like that implies that you're not delivering your whole deck's payload every turn. If you're
Well,
smoothing it out, it means
you can hold back a little bit on the payload to
sure.
push for it a little more next turn, and it's better than if you had just done it normal. Like
Okay, yeah.
it's
I,
not. I don't know. Whatever.
well,
Who cares? Okay. Point of guild hall. If you see cash or beggar or masterpiece, look really strongly at doing this. There's videos. There's things on YouTube about it's guild hall. Who cares? I give it a 6.
I
I don't
think
care about
that
guild hall.
well, I think that even outside of the degenerate combos, that if it was close between playing a front-running rush provinces money strategy and playing sort of a long-term what we're calling an engine here, I think that if it was close before, that Guildhall pushes you toward money because it's so good for money.
I could not disagree more.
I wonder. We should probably play this out and see.
Like
Do some
something pushing you towards money. Like
I mean, they're out there. There are good money cards out there.
There's no such thing as pushing you towards money. There's no way to salvage this, and there's no way to salvage this. Nothing pushes you towards money.
That
Things
sounds
push
like
you
an
towards
attitude
engines.
problem.
Things push you towards engines. They never push you towards money.
Now I see the problem.
Lack of villages.
You just don't like money.
Guildhall is not a lack of a thing. It is a thing, and it's not pushing you towards money. I can guarantee you that.
I think that you just don't like money because you don't want to give money a chance.
No, I hate money.
I love
Money's
money.
Boring.
Man, the game would be so much worse if money weren't viable a lot of the time. Yeah, no, like the reason
the game would be so much worse if engines weren't viable most of
the reason that Dominion is interesting is because the decision to play money exists and is one that is like considerable a lot of the time. If Dominion were an engine game,
what's your rating, Jake? Jeez, what is your rating? Let me look at your rating.
By the way, I'm playing on Parker Horton right now, so I'm about 60.
Parker, 59.2, and your MU is 160. All right, Dominion players, take note. If you love money, the best you'll ever get is 1.6 MU.
Hey, I've been 60, and I've been 1.8 MU.
Okay, all jokes aside, I'm thinking about. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Piazza.
Okay.
Piazza now.
Piazza, which
I hope
is pizza. So
pizza?
Yeah, pizza.
Yeah, I guess I misread that as pizza. Sure.
Yeah. At the start of your turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action, play it. So, yeah, you usually buy this. I think it's pretty good.
I gave it a 9, which is a stretch, but I would give it a 7 or an 8. It's Herald. Don't get it. If you can't really like you kind of have to time it, right? So a lot of people are like kind of on this, but I feel like that's just Academy Part 2. It's like, okay, well, they get Academy's good. Now you need to understand that Piazza is also good. And yeah, there are going to be games where, you flip a copper over and over and over. Yeah, fuck you, you lose. It happens,
Sure.
It's just going to happen.
I mean, it's a card game. You shuffle cards. Yeah. Like, there's luck in the game. It's part of
it. It happens. But by and large, buying Piazza is completely fine. It's good. It's a consistency enabler. It helps you out. Now, you have to make the call on when to get it. And that's the tricky part. If you get it too soon, well, you just spent 5 on something that doesn't help you nearly enough. And then, of course, sometimes it'll just help you when it shouldn't. And you'll get super lucky and you'll win. But that doesn't usually happen. Usually it's the other thing where you get burned. So you kind of have to time it. You have to know what's in your deck, how much you've trashed, etc., etc., etc. But I like this card. I like it quite fine. It's just the timing of when to get it or if to get it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. But sometimes you do. Well, the timing is tricky.
The only time that you wouldn't get it at all throughout the game is when you just didn't have time for it. So, like, if the game is going exceptionally quickly, like if for whatever reason the payload is such or the pile control is such that the game's going to be over before this Piazza has time to pay off for you.
And you might think,
skip
well,
it.
my deck's completely consistent. I'm drawing my deck every turn.
Well,
Snooty, holding a wine. Hey, listen, you start greening, you're gonna dud. Sorry, you're gonna be wishing you had that Piazza later. Like it happened. It just always happens.
well,
It
and
always
also,
happens where it's just you're amazed at how fast your deck falls apart. It just happens.
well, and just
So,
because you're drawing your deck now doesn't mean that you couldn't be adding more stop cards to it, so that you're having trouble drawing it now, but it's doing more. So like, there's always room for more deck control.
yeah.
A lot of the time.
Piazza doesn't toss it. No, that sucks. If Piazza tossed the top card of your deck, if it wasn't an action, it'd be even better.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
It
would be amazing. It would be way better, I think.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I wish it did that.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Well, a boy can dream.
Yeah, I've wrote it at 9. I think I'm gonna walk it back to a 7, but
yeah,
I like Piazza.
I give it a 7. Yeah, 7 seems fine.
Mm.
So next up we have Road Network.
I still don't know. Like, this is the one I still have no idea about.
Oh man, it's weird. When another player gains a victory card plus 1 card, it's the best situation for it is.
I feel like it's bad. I feel like it's bad, but like I don't want to say that either because like
I'm sure
I can't
a lot of
verify
time
it's bad.
I'm sure it is a lot of the time.
Yeah, I just.
But like when I mean, the best case for it is when you use it defensively. It's like when the opponent is going to be on their turn, like piling Silk Roads or whatever. It's like,
you just reminded me of a game where there was Harem on the board and there were stables, and I was getting Harems over golds for the stables. It was like really nice, and I got like a province worth of Harems. And then my opponent bought a Road Network. I'm like, oh. Well, I guess I'm done buying Harems now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want to help him draw his deck. And then I bought a Road Network, and then he started buying Harems. I'm like, oh, this is pretty nice. That's like the one board where I'm like, hey, I like Road Network now. Which is with Harem, freaking Harem. But I kind of like Harem actually. I could talk up a little bit about Harem. I think people are more down on it than they should be. Not to sound like Wandering Winder, but I think Harem needs a little more hype than it gets.
Probably.
Am I arguing for this? We're talking about Road Network, not a money card.
I mean, the Road Network, the most work it's ever done for me was in a Governor game, right? Because like, at that point, yeah, the Governors.
Now we're talking.
I can also imagine it being like sick in a Groundskeeper game, or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So yeah, in an explosive game where it's like, oh, if you can't end it, do you really want to get close to ending it and give them all this draw for free?
Yeah.
You really want to do that?
It's a risk.
Okay, buddy. It's a little interesting. That being said, I think it's one of the worst projects, and I would rate it like a 5 out of 10, probably.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it a 4 because I feel like I'm underestimating it, and I'm just going to get burned by it one week, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. But for now, I'm giving it a 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 mostly.
I will plead the 5th for this. I have no idea how good it is still.
I could walk it back from a 7, but like the reason I went with it, I skew my ratings on projects higher in general just because it's a one-time investment that does this thing for you for the rest of the game. So like that's kind of where I'm coming from with Road Network. It's like I spend one $5 buy, and then forever, whenever you gain a green card, you have this threat of me drawing. Usually that's worth it to me, but oh man, I could be overvaluing it too, so it's hard to say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, for once, I don't know really what to say about Road Network.
Yeah. But the next one, Barracks is a 6 cost, and at the start of your turn plus action, it's Perpetual Village. Well, not like Champion is, but like you always have at least one village in your life.
It's fine. It's a village. Yeah. 10. Getting tired. Crop rotation.
Yeah. So Barracks is a little boring. It's never too exciting. Yeah. Crop rotation is at the start of your turn. You can discard a victory card for +2 cards. You start out. It's like a Prince Shepherd that only works on 1 card.
I love crop rotation.
It's really good, actually. It
I
turns out.
love I love crop rotation.
It turns out
I
crop.
gave it an 8. I'm
Yeah,
sticking with that 8. Crop rotation tunnel is the tunnel strategy you've always wanted to work. It actually works. Now, mind you, you can't do it alone. You have to do it with other things. You have to mix it with other stuff.
yeah.
But first 6 you get, crop rotation. Buy it immediately. Oh, you have a 3? Okay, buy a tunnel. Okay, and then you buy these support cards. And I can consistently get like 43 to 50 points in 14 turns.
That's a
Like
lot.
pretty darn
Yeah.
consistently, given average boards. Because I just buy a bunch of tunnels, and tunnels add up to provinces, and then I buy provinces with the golds, and I toss tunnels for more golds, and I have support cards to draw a bunch of cards, and I have multiple buys, and it just adds up, and it works. It actually works. It's like warehouse tunnel. Okay, well the most you're getting in hand is 4 golds. Who cares? You're drawing cards, and you're getting golds out of it. Like, yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about things that like push you toward
Yeah.
playing money strategies.
Oh, it's not money. You're playing an engine, but
I mean, just
you're playing it with money-ish stuff, but you're definitely playing an engine
well,
most
this
of the
is
time.
but this is good for money. Is the other
Yes.
thing? It speeds money up to the point that like
Yes.
these other decks that could be competing maybe don't have time anymore because the crop rotation could be setting the clock too short for them because it is such a decent enabler for money. So like, yeah, I think anytime you're gonna have green cards in your deck, I think you get the crop rotation. The only time you don't is when you're not gonna have green
Yes.
cards in your deck, which is like on a mega turn or when all your points are VP chips or whatever.
Quite often,
Yeah.
if I hit 6 instead of 5 on my first shuffle, I'll buy crop rotation. I don't know if that's correct, but I've been doing it into pretty good success because you're pretty likely to hit 5 the next time you toss it in a state anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it draws cards. It's draw.
Yep.
And you get draw. Draw's good.
Next
I
one.
love crop rotation, so yeah, get crop rotation. Innovation, I love innovation. I gave it a 9. It's an 8 now.
This is probably my
but
favorite project. Like just in terms of like
yeah.
my pet preferences, this is my favorite like one in the set.
I think my favorite's still crop rotation, but this is like a close second. I really love innovation.
I think people undervalue this quite a bit, and I base that
Yes.
both on things I've heard and also the behavior I've observed from people. They buy it too late, and like they don't
Yes.
realize this is doing so much for you. The
I
fact that
I buy it so early. Like
yeah,
first 6 I get, like, oh hey,
same.
I'll just buy an innovation. And then it's shocking how like amazing, oh hey, I buy an expand, and then you immediately play it on an estate.
Yeah, or
Wow.
you buy a trasher immediately. A trasher maybe you don't even need, but like you buy it just to like trash right now.
Yeah.
I mean the crazy thing is like
The utility is fantastic.
People will praise Watchtower for being able to top deck in action, but then they don't see the value of innovation, which is just playing it immediately, which was the point of top decking it in the first place.
Yes.
So yeah, get innovation.
It's a little hard
fantastic.
to envision. I think people have kind of walked back on that a bit, and I think that's going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
Like you kind of saw Hermit and Madman consistently near the top of the ratings all the time, but you never really got the sense that people really valued Hermit that much, despite it being near the top all the time. Like you kind of got the impression that people were underplaying it.
Yeah.
Where like they wouldn't always get Madman, they wouldn't just get Madman. Like, oh, we're gonna open Hermit, we'll gain a silver, we'll trash an estate, and we'll buy a card instead of just gaining a Hermit and getting the Madman. Like they wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like
Which
I feel like
innovation
innovation's one of those.
Do that, but they should. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like innovation's one of those cards that's gonna skyrocket in a couple of years.
Yeah, people are gonna realize how
Yeah.
crazy it is in different ways on different boards.
Yeah, people forget that good players aren't the only ones voting in the Vist rankings and stuff. It's also not so good players. So
Yeah.
like for stuff to go up in the rating, like the not so good players also kind of have to agree, and like the good players are starting to come around on innovation, and then like everyone else kind of just follows. Like it's kind of like steering a ship, right? It's like it's a little slow. There's a little course correction, but I think it's going to happen with innovation. Don't get me wrong, there are boards where innovation is just a dud, and I think people focus on that too much, though.
Man, like I have to. It's hard for me to think. Like I think you have to purposely design a kingdom for innovation to be useless, though. Like maybe if like everything is draw or village, like that's like all there is. But
Yeah.
man, I mean like even like duration draw is great with innovation because it's like I buy a wharf, it's in play now.
Yeah,
Um,
innovation combos fantastically with orange cards. I
yeah,
cannot specify. All right, hey,
or
buy a
Tanlins.
wharf and then have it in play for the next 2 turns. Yeah,
So
you'll
good.
no need to thank me. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's really good.
It's
Uh,
very good.
yeah. So the next one we get to Canal, which
It's
is
Canal.
yeah, that's what I said.
I hope you haven't been saying Canal the entire
Yeah, I've always wanted to try it, but anyway, so it costs seven,
time.
and so you it says
I'm gonna
during your
pretend you didn't.
turns,
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
during your turns, cards cost one less, but not less than zero. So it's a cost reduction thing. I gave it
Oh,
a
I need to recover. I need to recover
okay.
from that.
So well, Seprix is recovering.
Recovering from your dirty joke.
Yeah, I
Right.
don't know what you're talking about, but I gave this.
What?
I gave this. This is another one I gave two ratings for, which is 4 or 7. And
Okay.
I kind of stand by that because, like, if you've got anything that capitalizes on that cost reduction, like extra gains or a workshop that has a fixed price point or something like that, this turns into a really good enabler. But then, like, if it's just the key, or if it's just like having plus $1, that's oftentimes not worth like spending 7 on. So it's hard to say.
I had Canal at 8. I probably am gonna have it at 7, probably, or 6.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's you'll probably usually buy it. I don't know. I don't feel confident about it, but
Yeah.
man, I just want to go to the next, like you what you said. I just want to go to the next one already.
Well,
Jeez,
so like a lot of the
I
time,
cannot believe you said that.
so
Holy shit.
if I hit 7 or 8 and I want some payload, a lot of the time I'll buy the silver gold just for reliability purposes, even on a single game
Okay.
board. So there are
All right.
there are times when I'll do that. Um,
Okay.
all right, next one is the one that I am very willing to admit that I was my most overrated thing in Renaissance. I This was the card I
I'm
most
happy to announce that
overestimated.
this was one of my underrated things in. So it looks
So
like you're going backwards.
we'll probably like even out around the same rating. Uh,
No, I have this at 8.
okay, so like I'm dialing back down to like 7 to 8.
Okay.
So like we're kind of in the same
I had this at
ballpark.
6, and I'm like, oh, it sucks. It's just a game. No,
But
it's an 8. It's really good. You'll buy it on your first date,
yeah, so
pretty much always.
Citadel is the most expensive project. It costs 8, and the first time you play an action card during each of your turns, play it again right after. Yeah, it's like you have this prince out in the prince throne room or whatever is the analogy everyone keeps saying, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite good. Like you said, it's usually the first 8. The only exception is like those single game boards that are all about just consistency and speed. Money
Yes.
boards, you
Yes.
probably just buy province instead. But like, yeah, I mean, this is you usually get this, but it's not as broken as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be really good, and then I was disappointed, and then I realized, no, it's good.
Yeah,
So I kind of went back on it twice. It was kind of funny.
it makes giant
Um,
good, and that's that's all I need. That's all you needed to tell me is that it actually makes giant playable.
what?
So.
Giant wasn't playable already?
Giant's pretty bad payload. I mean, like, don't get
What?
me wrong. It's
What?
Giant is an attack in its
What?
payload, but like
What?
you would usually rather have anything else in Giant's place. Like
No!
anything that does
I
anything
love
close.
Giant! Giant is good! What are you talking about? Giant
Man,
curses or it trashes a good card?
But
and
like,
then it also gives 6 money and it spikes and it's
but
great and you play two.
that takes 2 plays
But it
of this 5
attacks. It
cost terminal.
curses. It
It
curses.
not at will. It doesn't. It
Yes, it
curses
curses.
really
Cursing is good.
slowly.
Oh
Man,
no, Giant is
idle
good.
idle
I li-
curses too.
I
But
hate
like,
Idle. I hate Idle. Giant is so much better than Idle. What do you? Ugh.
they're different. Ah,
Jake.
man, I think
Jake, no. Jake, no.
Giant
Stop
and
being Skip
idle.
Bayless. Stop it. Stop it.
Giant versus idle sounds like a cage match.
Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to play that cage match. It's going to be misery either
I
way.
I don't really want
But
to either, but I kind of want to suggest it to Sammy so other people will do it and see
okay,
where it settles out.
other people can play that. I'm not interested. I'm going to play fun games. Thank you very much.
Sammy, if you're
But Giant,
listening,
I'm definitely taking Giant in the cage match though.
I'm not sure. I think I'm taking idle, but like I'd have to think about it. Um,
Idle is probably a little more useful, but Giant is just a better card. Like,
Giant is satisfying. I will say, like, it's really fun when you can get Giant to work. Like, I always feel clever, but that's mostly just because, oh my god, I actually made Giant do something good. But like,
no, it's not like that at all. It's actually Giant actually is good.
man,
It actually is good.
I need to. I need to.
Anyway,
read up
we're
on
done.
Giant.
Bye.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so it's Renaissance. That was our initial impressions combined with our now impressions.
Yep.
And our future impressions will probably never be put in video format. So sorry. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Jake.
Anytime.
Yes.
And
I'll see you next time, whenever next time is.
All right. See you later.
Bye.